Chapter 715. When Xiao Qian's feet landed on the ground, he soared up at the same time as the little azure dragon. The instant he soared up, a resonant dragon roar resounded. Xiao Qian turned into a true dragon and soared into the sky. He was like a bolt of lightning as he charged at the flying sky demonic leopard. Just as the little azure dragon in his dantian was about to follow his meridians and charge out of his body, Xiao Qian drew his lunar shadow saber. Kassier. Purple electricity lit up. From the moment Xiao Qian turned into a true dragon to the moment he drew his saber, the entire process was completed in one breath. Today, Xiao Qian easily captured the feeling that he had been searching for so long. A saber light flashed like a true dragon opening its mouth in rage. An unparalleled might directly chopped this rank 8 demonic beast in half. With just one saber strike, Xiao Qian easily chopped down a rank 8 demonic beast that was as strong as a superior grade martial monarch. Blood filled the air as the two halves of the flying sky demonic leopard's corpse quickly fell to the ground. Xiao Qian sheathed his saber and revealed a faint expression of joy. He had never executed Soaring Dragon as smoothly as he did now. Xiao Qian executed it in one breath without any obstructions. He just had to follow the feeling in his heart and attack. As Xiao Qian landed on the demonic beast's corpse, he thought to himself, it looks like the item spirit of the Blue Dragon Palace was right. The problem lies with the martial spirit. The exquisite and pretty Ao Jiao, who was dressed in a silk dress, squinted her eyes as she stood on the top half of the mountain peak. As she looked at the confident Xiao Qian in the air, her lips curled up in a satisfied smile. Xiao Qian's figure flashed, and he landed beside Ao Jiao. After thinking for a while, he took out the brocade box containing the map of the savage battlefield. Originally, Xiao Qian intended to practice the dragon tone art first before going out to search for the Forbidden Lands. However, the surging and thick quintessence in his body and his small accomplishments in Soaring Dragon gave Xiao Qian great confidence. They had already wasted too much time, so they couldn't delay any longer. The experts of the Tianwu domain's younger generation had probably all appeared. The situation was changing, and the opportunity was fleeting. If he didn't make a move now, then when would he? Ao Jiao looked at the brocade box that Xiao Qian took out and asked curiously, "What is it that you're using a spirit sealing box to store it?" Xiao Qian opened the brocade box. Then he took out an ancient beast skin map that emanated spiritual energy from the hidden compartment. As soon as the beast hide map was taken out from the box, a boundless, desolate aura burst out from it. It quickly merged with the vast, savage battlefield in reality, becoming indistinguishable from each other, forming a wondrous connection. Ao Jiao's eyelashes fluttered as her bright eyes widened. At first, she was slightly stunned. After she reacted, the expression in her eyes clearly fluctuated. Suppressing the excitement in her heart, Ao Jiao said joyfully, "This is the map of the savage region. Where did you get it?" Xiao Qian unfurled the map of the savage region and gave a simple explanation of how he obtained it from the loose cultivator lone wolf. After Ao Jiao heard that, she clicked her tongue and sighed. "You are really lucky." Back then, the Thunder King searched the entire Tianwu domain for this savage region map, but he could not find it. This savage region map has such a great origin. Back then, even the Thunder King had to put in a lot of effort to search for it. Ao Jiao nodded and said very naturally, "Of course. Before the War of the Emperors, the savage battlefield was one of the two centers of the Kunlun realm. It hides the secret of the Immortal epic's destruction. What you're seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg. To the Kunlun realm's Emperor Wu, the savage battlefield is a land of great fortuitous encounters." Xiao Qian revealed a grave expression. He had not expected the savage battlefield to be so vast and vast. Didn't they say that martial sages and above are not allowed to come to the savage battlefield? Why would Emperor Wu come here? This is too much. Before coming here, Xiao Qian had heard that the various sects would not send any martial sages for this experiential training. Even loose cultivators would not dare to break this taboo. Ao Jiao smiled faintly and said quickly, The experiential training of sect disciples will only start once every 3 years, when the demonic barrier weakens. At other times, there are not so many restrictions. Why would Emperor Wu care about that demonic barrier? This answer answered one of Xiao Qian's doubts. The two did not say anything else, and focused on studying the various forbidden lands on the map. Wherever Xiao Qian looked, a vast scene would appear in Xiao Qian's mind. Mountains and rivers from front to back, there was nothing missing. Even the demonic beasts in the surroundings of the forbidden lands could see everything clearly. It was like they were here in person, a wondrous feeling. Every forbidden land would be marked with a bright red dot. Xiao Qian knew his own limits. He did not look at the others, only at the forbidden lands with the weakest color. However, even so, he felt a headache when he looked at them. The forbidden lands with the lowest danger were probably not places that he could venture alone. The demonic beasts in the surroundings were mutated demonic beasts. They were much stronger than ordinary demonic beasts. There were also extremely dangerous environments in the forbidden lands that made one's scalp go numb. For example, there were endless pools of lava, forests filled with 7-colored poison fog, and dangerous lands with ancient formations carved on them. Xiao Qian withdrew his gaze and sighed. It looks like I thought too simply. It is too difficult to barge into these forbidden lands alone without advancing to martial sage. When Ao Jiao heard this, she smiled faintly and said, "Naturally, it will be difficult to barge into the entire forbidden land. However, you will be able to gain a lot from some of the forbidden lands that no one has discovered." Xiao Qian's eyes lit up, and he asked, "What did you discover?" Ao Jiao pointed to a corner of the map and said, "Look here, here, and here. Monarch bloodgrass." Xiao Qian cried out in pleasant surprise. Scarlet monarch bloodgrass lay quietly in the desolate corners of the forbidden lands that Ao Jiao pointed to. Furthermore, these forbidden lands were not far from where he was now. It would not take much time. Xiao Qian had experienced the wondrous uses of monarch bloodgrass long ago. It could refine blood and strengthen qi in blood. It also contained the aura of an ancient sovereign. Just one stalk would allow Xiao Qian to resist the aura of a martial sage. If he had a few more, the sovereign bloodline in his blood would increase significantly. Not only would he be able to resist the aura of a martial sage, he might even be able to resist it. However, these monarch bloodgrass do not seem that easy to obtain. Each stalk has a mutated rank 8 demonic beast guarding it. Xiao Qian calmed down and frowned slightly. Mutated demonic beasts were not easy to deal with. Even when Shui Lingling faced a group of mutated flying demonic beasts in the bloody ground wasteland, she did not dare to be careless. Ao Jiao withdrew her finger and said with a calm expression, "That is natural. There is no free lunch in this world. You are too naive to think that you can pick up treasures just by obtaining a map." Xiao Qian nodded to himself in agreement. After thinking for a while, he said, "Find the map of the Dragon Burial Mound. I want to see how far the True Dragon Cave has been explored." After looking around the map of the Savage Plains, Xiao Qian already understood that it was impossible to explore the forbidden lands with one's own strength, even if it was the least dangerous. Currently, Xiao Qian placed his greatest hope on the True Dragon Cave, which the 7 giants led. Only by venturing deep into the forbidden lands could he obtain the truly good things. Ao Jiao gently swiped her finger and quickly found the Dragon Burial Mound on the map. She looked around and found the place with the most people. That should be the True Dragon Cave that was exposed this time. Many people could be seen at the pitch-black entrance of the True Dragon Cave with excited expressions. Along the way to the True Dragon Cave, Xiao Qian saw the corpses of several cultivators. Based on the wounds, they were all saber wounds, sword wounds, and quintessence wounds. Clearly, the owners of these corpses did not die at the hands of demonic beasts. Instead, they died in the intense competition for the strange fruits, spirit herbs, and ores in the periphery. As Xiao Qian and Ao Jiao looked deeper, the interior of the True Dragon Cave appeared before their eyes. The obstacles in front of them had already been swept away. Xiao Qian saw many corpses of demonic beasts lying at the side with their stomachs cut open. The precious materials in their bodies had all been harvested. Xiao Chun could only take a look at the scattered, ordinary sect disciples. They did not dare to go too deep into the true dragon cave. Instead, they tried their luck here. As Xiao Chun continued looking, he could feel the vastness and complexity of the true dragon cave. The caves were connected to each other, looking very complicated. Several cultivators walked around in circles, but could not find the true path. As Xiao Chun watched the other party walk around in circles on the map, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He felt that the other party was very stupid. With a map to guide him, Xiao Chen's vision smoothly passed through this huge and complicated cave. He even discovered a few rank 8 spirit herbs that no one had noticed. Boom! The scene on the map suddenly changed. A red fiery light assaulted Xiao Chen's face. The ground was covered in surging lava. Occasionally, golden flames leaped up from the lava. In the magma, one could see long snakes that were made of red, flaming stones. Their hole-like eyes were spurting out red flames. Just by looking at the map from afar, Xiao Chun could feel the heat wave assaulting him, deterring him from getting too close. A large group of cultivators stood in front of the lava. They all frowned, not in a rush to barge in. Xiao Chun saw the figures of the thunder and lightning palaces in Juanxi, the passionate young master Murong Lingfeng, the extreme insects by Wu Xue, and the other giants. There were also the battle realm geniuses led by Niu Deng, the Shiman clan led by Shiman Bao, the full moon pavilions Feng Xingxing, and the thousand mysteries sects Hua Dao. These were all young experts that Xiao Chun was familiar with or had met before. As for the other experts that he was not familiar with, it would be better. Without exception, this group of people was blocked in front of the fiery lava. They cautiously discussed countermeasures. As Xiao Chun looked around, he saw Shui Lingling. She had a calm expression, not showing any fear or dread on her icy face. However, she did not show the joy of reclaiming a desolate land. Instead, there was an indescribable longing in the depths of her eyes. Now that Xiao Chun thought about it, the person who risked the danger of the true dragon storm to bring him back was definitely Shui Lingling. She probably thinks that I'm dead, Xiao Chun thought to himself. Then, he shifted his gaze to Wang Cheng, who was behind Shui Lingling. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. At this moment, Wang Cheng was glowing. He looked very happy. He must have gained a lot of benefits in this true dragon cave. Chapter 716. Ao Jiao withdrew her gaze. Her delicate face did not reveal much surprise. She smiled and said, "You can rest assured now. The true dragon cave is not a place that a group of youths can explore as they wish. They will need at least a week to reach the core region." Xiao Chun put away the map and tore off the blue strip of cloth on his forehead. The mark on his forehead flickered with a red light, and the scarlet throne appeared in a flash of red light. The instant the blue strip of cloth was removed, Xiao Chun could no longer hide his king's aura. No matter how much he withdrew his sharpness, no one dared to look at him directly. Xiao Chun leaped up gently and landed on the scarlet throne carried by the scarlet clouds. The scarlet clouds churned like a sovereign descending on the world, sweeping through the surroundings. Ao Jiao's exquisite figure drifted down from the sky like a falling leaf. Then, she sat on the armrest of the scarlet throne. A scarlet light flashed, and the scarlet throne carried Xiao Chun and Ao Jiao to the nearest forbidden land. That place had the absolute treasure that he needed, the monarch bloodgrass. Hundreds of kilometers north of the Blue Dragon Palace, there was a huge skeleton. Half of it was buried in the ground, and the other half was exposed. The exposed skeleton was already 100 meters tall. If it was buried underground, it would be even larger. If the entire skeleton was dug out, who knew how big it would be and what kind of scene it would be? Not a single blade of grass grew within a kilometer of the skeleton, only sand. The skeleton was covered in dust, obscuring the original color of the bones. 1,000 meters away, it was a different scene. The vegetation was flourishing, and there were many tall plants growing, forming a vast forest. In the dense forest, tall and broad trees could be found everywhere. The branches of the towering trees were luxuriant, and the originally dim sunlight was completely covered. Several extremely horrifying demonic beasts hid in the dark forest. A mutated twin-armed demonic ape rested quietly under a large tree. The skin of this twin-armed demonic ape had already turned into bone. It did not have the fur of a regular demonic ape. Its skin was like metal, giving off a metallic texture. The twin-armed demonic ape's entire body was like a monster made of metal. It did not look like a living animal, but more like a machine. The twin-armed demonic ape's eyes were cold and emotionless as it scanned its territory, not allowing any demonic beasts or cultivators to pass. In the distance, Xiaochen stood on a large tree with lush foliage. He gently pushed aside the branches in front of him and narrowed his eyes into a line. At the limits of his vision was a scarlet herb with a golden line on its scarlet leaves. This was Xiaochen's target, the monarch bloodgrass. This monarch bloodgrass was only 5 meters away from the mutated twin-armed demonic ape. If Xiaochen wanted to pick it, he would have to anger this demonic beast. The twin-armed demonic ape was a rank 8 demonic beast. Its strength was equal to of Hu Hai's. Even if there were 2 Hu Hai's working together, they might not be a match for it. The defense of its metallic body alone was enough to give one a headache. If he did, it, and the fiend it, not the fiend he of the Demoth the Wu, the fiend of the Xiao of the Chun the fiend. If Xiao Chun ended up startling the fiend emperor remains in the desert in the center of the forest, it would be even harder to deal with. After thinking of countermeasures, Xiao Chun waved his hand, and a small, exquisite, golden sculpture appeared in his right hand. This golden savage ox sculpture will probably have to go to waste. Xiao Chun sighed. The golden savage ox possessed the bloodline of a savage beast. If its true body came here, it would not be much weaker than the mutated twin-armed demonic ape. However, the life bestowal spell was much weaker. It was already very good that it could buy some time for Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun extended out his spiritual sense and gained a clear understanding of his surroundings. Then, he gently tossed out the golden sculpture. Life bestowal spell. Xiao Chun formed hand seals with both hands, and the golden sculpture quickly enlarged. Then it suddenly took form. The huge golden savage ox immediately landed on the ground. Ka! Before the golden savage ox landed, there was a crisp sound. The twin-armed demonic ape's feet bounced off the ground, creating a black line in the air. Then, its metallic palm smashed heavily on the golden savage ox. The golden savage ox was sent flying. Its small hill-like body crushed many trees, causing them to fall to the ground with a loud rumble. Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness surged, and he felt somewhat dizzy. He was flabbergasted at the twin-armed demonic ape's reaction speed. Xiao Chun calmed himself and controlled the golden savage ox to run forward. He did not care about anything else. All he needed to do was lure this twin-armed demonic ape away. Bang! 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 Loud sounds came from the quiet forest. The golden savage ox's huge body shook the ground, startling several demonic beasts out of their hiding places. When they saw the twin-armed demonic ape chasing its prey, they all gave way, scattering in all directions. There were no other demonic beasts within a kilometer of the monarch bloodgrass. It's about time. Xiao Chun gently pushed off a tree trunk and moved as nimbly as a bird, weaving through the dense forest, advancing continuously. After a while, Xiao Chun landed beside the monarch bloodgrass. He revealed an expression of joy as he carefully dug out the monarch bloodgrass and quickly placed it in his universe ring. The monarch bloodgrass, a treasure that even the 7 giants would be interested in, fell into Xiao Chen's hands just like that. Wait a moment. Don't go. Just as Xiao Chen was about to leave, Ao Jiao's voice rang out in the universe ring. Xiao Chen asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" "I have to go. The golden savage ox statue will not last for long." Ao Jiao flew out of the immortal spirit ring and pointed to a 10-meter-tall green tree in front. She said, "That is a sapling of the lunar cassia tree. When it matures, it will bloom with lunar cassia flowers. They are worth cities. Dig it out and transplant it into the immortal spirit ring." It will be very useful in the future. Xiao Chen frowned and said, however, the golden savage ox can only last for 5 minutes at most. If the twin-armed demonic ape rushes back, it will be problematic. We cannot miss this opportunity. When this spirit tree matures, even Emperor Wu will be interested. Obtaining it after that will be as difficult as ascending to heaven, Ao Jiao said encouragingly. Xiao Chen's eyes wandered as he thought quickly. Then he made a decision. Let's be faster. The two arrived before the sapling of the lunar cassia tree and started to dig it out. For them to transplant it completely, the roots could not be damaged. The two dug very carefully, afraid of damaging the roots. Hence, they could not move quickly. Buzz! Xiao Chen's churning sea of consciousness trembled. Blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. His expression was somewhat unsightly as he said, "The golden savage ox is crippled." Ao Jiao moved even faster. Her fingers moved nimbly as she sent out quintessence, digging out piles of soil. Without raising her head, she said, "Just be faster. It will be fine." Bang! The twin-armed demonic ape's footsteps rang out in Xiao Chen's ears as it drew closer. Xiao Chen could still clearly feel the twin-armed demonic ape's unique cold fiendish chi. When the final root was dug out, Ao Jiao happily flew into the immortal spirit ring with the sapling. She said, "All right, congratulations on obtaining a future spirit tree." However, Xiao Chen found it hard to smile. The twin-armed demonic ape had already returned. A battle could not be avoided. Hoochie! A sharp sonic boom came from behind. Xiao Chen clenched his fists tightly, and 1,000 tons of force quickly poured into his fist. Then, he turned around and punched. Bang! This punch happened to catch the twin-armed demonic ape's palm strike. A surging energy surged out like a saber. Kassier! Kassier! The towering trees fell. Xiao Chen did not move at all. The twin-armed demonic ape flew back 100 meters, crying out in pain. Then, it nimbly turned around in the air and turned into a black shadow charging at Xiao Chen again. Xiao Chen smiled coldly and executed the dragon claw fist. An azure-colored dragon head howled, and a ferocious force burst forth, knocking back the twin-armed demonic ape again. Xiao! Before the twin-armed demonic ape could get up, Xiao Chen took the initiative to charge over. A blue dragon image appeared under his feet, carrying him like a strong wind as he arrived before the twin-armed demonic ape. Xiao Chen sent out another berserk dragon claw. The azure-colored dragon claw left 5 clear marks on the twin-armed demonic ape's chest. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. The berserk dragon claw did not even leave a mark on the twin-armed demonic ape. The defense of this twin-armed demonic ape was too ridiculous. The twin-armed demonic ape roared and charged over again. The dragon head on the left hand and the dragon claw on the right joined together, forming a complete dragon image. Then, Xiao Chen pushed his hands forward. Berserk Dragon Break. The dragon image roared ferociously. It was made of pure vital chi. It quickly clashed with the twin-armed demonic ape and knocked it back again. Xiao Chen did not even bother to look at it. He immediately turned around and retreated. The twin-armed demonic ape's defense was too strong. If he dragged this out, it would not end well for him. Boom! 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 Xiao Chen blasted away all the trees in his way, turning them into its shavings that filled the air. Then, Xiao Chen flew off in a straight line. With such a commotion, all the demonic beasts in the forest were startled. The demonic beasts chasing after him quickly formed a huge army. If they caught up to him, they would tear Xiao Chen to shreds. Xiao Chen executed his movement technique to its limits and dodged all the attacks, making his way through the forest with much difficulty. A scarlet light flickered on Xiao Chen's forehead, and the scarlet throne appeared. Then, he quickly leaped onto it and turned into a beam of scarlet light. After finally escaping, Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief. He could not help but ask Ao Jiao, who was currently planting the lunar cassia tree in the immortal spirit ring. "You said that this lunar cassia tree is a seedling. In that case, how long will it take to mature?" Ao Jiao smiled and replied, "Not long. Under normal circumstances, it will mature in 200 or 300 years. However, for it to truly bloom, it will probably take 500 years. 500 years. It turned out that the thing that he obtained after putting his life on the line could only be used after 500 years. Xiao Chun nearly vomited a mouthful of blood. What it can be used in the future. Originally, he could have easily obtained the monarch bloodgrass and left the situation easily. Now, after spending so much effort to escape, the thing that he obtained could indeed only be used after 500 years. Feeling somewhat dissatisfied, Xiao Chun asked, "Even spirit trees have their wondrous uses. What can this lunar cassia tree do?" Inside the immortal spirit ring, Ao Jiao rejoiced as she carefully tended to the seedling of the lunar cassia tree. She smiled and said, "The lunar cassia flower that the lunar cassia tree blooms can immediately recover from any serious internal injuries. The lunar cassia fruit that blooms after 1,000 years is even more effective. It can permanently increase the recovery ability of a cultivator's body." You should know that most cultivators do not focus on cultivating the physical body. Permanently increasing the recovery ability of the body was very attractive to cultivators who did not focus on cultivating the physical body. Chapter 717. Even if Xiao Chun could not use it, he could sell it as a resource and not lack spirit stones in the future. However, it bloomed once every 500 years and bore fruit once every 500 years. If Xiao Chun had to wait 1,000 years for this absolute treasure, he could only sleep. When Ao Jiao saw Xiao Chun's appearance, she covered her mouth and smiled gently. "Hee, don't look so dispirited. Since I told you to do this, how could I make you wait 1,000 years?" A glimmer of hope appeared in Xiao Chun's heart. He asked, "Could it be that there is another way to shorten the growth time of the lunar cassia tree?" "Naturally, there is. Don't forget that this immortal spirit ring of yours is a peak-grade immortal spirit ring. It has been passed down since the immortal epoch. It is much stronger than the replicas and fixes of later generations." Ao Jiao said unhurriedly, "As long as you obtain a higher-ranked spirit vein's origin, you can make any spirit tree, including the lunar cassia tree, grow faster." It wasn't that easy to obtain a spiritual vein source. However, at least he didn't have to wait for 1,000 years to obtain one. Xiao Chun stopped thinking about this problem. He took out the monarch bloodgrass that he obtained. His somewhat depressed face finally revealed a smile. No matter what, he still managed to obtain the precious monarch bloodgrass. After washing the monarch bloodgrass, Xiao Chun placed it in his mouth and chewed on it. Then, he slowly refined the trace of the ancient sovereign's bloodline in it. His blood surged like lava. Xiao Chun could clearly feel his qi and blood strengthening continuously. His aura became more solid and strong. Vast, ancient, distant, and noble. The ancient sovereign's bloodline subtly changed Xiao Chun's mentality and aura. In the following days, relying on the map of the savage battlefield, Xiao Chun went to a few other forbidden lands and obtained 9 stalks of monarch bloodgrass, one after another. After consuming 10 stalks of monarch bloodgrass, Xiao Chun felt his physical body undergo an internal transformation. Such a transformation did not mean that his bones, skin, and internal organs had become stronger or that his strength had increased. Instead, it was a feeling of his mind. In the past, Xiao Chun's physical body was only close to a rank 1 sage body. Now it was already at the level of a rank 1 sage body. In some aspects, it even surpassed it. As a result, the way Xiao Chun looked at problems changed without him realizing it. This was the wondrous feeling that came with the advancement of his physical body. As for the remaining monarch bloodgrass, it would be difficult to obtain them. This was because they were too far away from each other. Moving around would take a lot of effort and be even more dangerous. Hence, Xiao Chun gave up on this plan. Furthermore, he was already satisfied with the harvest of 10 monarch bloodgrass. Back when Wan Miyun obtained a stalk of monarch bloodgrass, she was somewhat reluctant to use it. However, Xiao Chun directly consumed 10 stalks of monarch bloodgrass like he was eating or drinking. If people knew about this, they would wonder how frightened they would be. Next, we should be going to the True Dragon Cave. right? They're probably in the core region already, Ao Jiao said softly from the world in the ring. At this moment, Xiao Chun was only a peak medial grade martial monarch. Among the sect disciples who came here for experiential training, he was not considered much. There were at least 800 people with higher cultivations than him. However, after consuming 10 stalks of monarch bloodgrass, no matter how much Xiao Chun withdrew his aura, it inspired fear from the depths of his heart. Xiao Chen's aura naturally suppressed everyone else's, gaining the initiative. Xiao Chun said calmly, "There's still one more thing. It is time to take out the netherworld flower in the immortal spirit ring. Since one was going to the true dragon cave, one would not be able to obtain any treasures without sufficient trump cards to intimidate others." Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, was already prepared. She gently waved her right hand, and the white flame core of the netherworld flower slowly floated out of the ring. A white light flickered in Xiao Chen's left eye. He gently released the pearl-sized extreme flame origin flame and started to consume it. Among the attributed flames, the netherworld flower was one of the better ones. After consuming the netherworld flame, Xiao Chen's extreme flame would improve significantly. In the past, for the sake of maintaining a balance between yin and yang, Xiao Chun could not fully unleash the purple thunder true fire's origin flame. This was because the extreme flame was too weak. As a result, Xiao Chun had not been able to bring out the might of the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. ZZ. The pearl-sized extreme flame continuously consumed the netherworld flame, giving off soft sizzling sounds. The white origin flame diagram grew larger at a visible pace. Knowing that this matter could not be rushed, Xiao Chun controlled the extreme flame diagram unhurriedly, not showing any anxiety or nervousness. Time passed slowly. When Xiao Chun finished consuming the netherworld flame, the pearl-sized origin flame diagram had already become the size of an infant's fist. The pale white flame floated in the air, giving off a sinister aura. Even though the temperature did not drop, it made one tremble in fear. After muttering to himself for a while, a beam of purple light quickly shot out from Xiao Chen's right eye. At this moment, Xiao Chun unleashed the purple thunder true fire's origin flame without holding anything back. The purple and white flames quickly swam around and chased each other. Soon, a Taiji diagram appeared on the surface. At this moment, Xiao Chun perfectly merged the strong yin and yang flames. The mental energy in his spiritual sense drained continuously. In yang, the 4 divisions, the 8 trigrams, all sorts of scenes appeared. The Taiji diagram gave birth to yin-yang, which gave birth to the 4 divisions. The 4 divisions gave birth to the 8 trigrams. The 8 trigrams gave birth to all things. The Taiji diagram that merged the yin and yang flames contained the dazzling crystallization of the wisdom of ancient Chinese sages. It materialized the creation of the world, the great Tao of everything coming from nothing. Vaguely, Xiao Chun felt like he saw the primal chaos of the world coming from nothing. The various scenes of the world unfolded one by one. Everything appeared in that Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. After the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram reached the most perfect equilibrium, it rose to a whole new level, undergoing a qualitative leap. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and pushed forward. Time and space froze for an instant, and the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram slowly advanced. The sky shook, the ground trembled, and space trembled. The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram seemed to push the entire space. At this moment, even a mountain in front would be uprooted by the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. Boom! Suddenly, the flame diagram erupted with golden light, radiating a brilliant radiance. It illuminated the dark space, making it as bright as day. In the next moment, the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram exploded. A horrifying energy spread out in all directions, forming golden ripples. Ripples appeared in the air like water. The golden light was like paint, and space trembled intensely. After a long time, the horrifying energy shock waves slowly scattered. The golden light vanished, but transparent ripples could still be seen flickering in the air. When Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, saw this scene, she exclaimed in shock, "This move is becoming more and more divine. No wonder you are confident enough to challenge by Wuxue within half a year." Xiao. Purple and white lights flickered and returned to Xiao Chen's eyes. Then he said calmly, "Let's go. Right now, I can easily retreat from any one of the 7 giants. If I run into Bai Wuxue again, I will not need to rely on First Senior Sister. If he insists on fighting, I do not mind giving him a pleasant surprise." Dragon Burial Mound. Hidden beneath the boundless mountain peaks were countless true dragon graves. Time passed quickly. This place had existed for an unknown number of tens of thousands of years. The past could not be seen, but it was unknown what kind of grand feast it was. The indistinct voice of the true dragon sang ancient legends and solemn epics. How long was 10,000 years? Who knew how many days and nights passed by? No matter how glorious the race was, no matter how long the story was, in the end, it was just a pile of dirt. As time passed, it would become a legend, only for later generations to reminisce about. The resting place of an ancient true dragon should have been solemn, dignified, and peaceful. However, at this moment, it was a mess. Traces of destruction from cultivators could be seen everywhere. A red light flashed in the horizon, and the aura of a king spread out. It was long and drawn out, causing the clouds in front to scatter with the wind. Occasionally, a blind demonic beast roared at the red light, wanting to peck at the white-clad man on the throne and eat him. Before the demonic beast got close, thousands of purple lights flickered with electricity and turned into thousands of sharp saber chi, riddling it with thousands of holes. When the red light flashed, it crushed the demonic beast's body into a clump of blood mist, vanishing into the air. The scarlet clouds carried the throne in the sky, leaving behind a long, fiery tail that lingered for a long time. From the ground, it looked like a rainbow piercing through the sky, moving as fast as lightning. Whoosh! The red light paused and stopped in front of a mountain peak. Xiao Chun stood up from the throne. At this moment, he had not tied the blue strip of cloth around his head. The aura of a king spread throughout his body. Combined with the ancient sovereign's bloodline flowing in his veins, his aura was noble, distant, and vast. As Xiao Chun stared at a cave in the distance, a brilliant light flashed in his eyes. He muttered to himself, "That should be the true dragon cave that was exposed this time, right?" The true dragon cave buried deep underground would not have been exposed if not for a special phenomenon occurring in the world. Under the circumstances that it was not exposed, even if Emperor Wu came here, he would not dare to rashly open this place and find the true dragon cave. Ao Jiao once said that there was a deity race Emperor Wu who disregarded some of the ancient taboos of the Kunlun realm. Emperor Wu forcefully used energy that surpassed the power of the world and lifted up the entire ground and mountain peak, trying to find all the true dragon caves. He looted all the true dragon remains and all the treasures that came with the true dragon caves. With his actions, the mountain peak crumbled and the sky changed color. All the true dragon caves in the Dragon Burial Mound were exposed. However, before Emperor Wu could do anything, this deity race Emperor Wu turned pale with fright. He fled in a sorry state. No one knew what horrifying thing he saw. In less than 3 months after he left the savage battlefield, the deity race Emperor Wu died mysteriously. Even the powerful deity race deity sovereign did not know the cause of his death. As time passed, the Dragon Burial Mound's damaged terrain recovered to its original state under the influence of a mysterious energy. No other martial emperors dared to touch the Dragon Burial Mound again. When Xiao Chun heard this rumor from Ao Jiao, he found it incredible. He really wanted to know what that deity race martial emperor saw when he flipped over the Dragon Burial Mound. What was the reason for his strange death? How could Emperor Wu die in such a strange manner? The Dragon Burial Mound was far from as simple as it appeared on the surface. Chapter 718. Xiao Chun slowly collected his wandering thoughts. A scarlet light flickered as he placed the scarlet throne back into his forehead. Then, he took out a blue strip of cloth and tied it around his forehead. Shao Chun withdrew his king's qi and circulated his blood. The ancient sovereign's bloodline was hidden, and his aura returned to normal, no different from that of a passerby. Standing on the azure dragon image, Shao Chun descended quickly. As he rose and fell, he arrived at the entrance of the true dragon cave in an instant. Then, he flew in without hesitation. Shao Chun had seen the interior of the true dragon cave on the map of the savage battlefield earlier. As Shao Chun advanced, he did not stop at all as he faced the complicated caves and paths. Along the way, Shao Chun met several cultivators who did not dare to go too deep and could only try their luck in the periphery. Shao Chun moved like the wind, passing by these people. When they looked back, Shao Chun was no longer there, which astonished them. Another ferocious person came. It looks like this true dragon cave will not be peaceful. Indeed, the 7 giants are all gathered here. Several of the top loose cultivators on the evil cultivator ranking are here to join in the excitement. That is not all. I heard that some fiend race loose cultivators are here as well. They snatched the treasures of several of our human cultivators. Most of the sect disciples in the periphery were early-stage, superior-grade martial monarchs. Because they feared danger, they only dared to loiter around. They hoped that they would be lucky. Perhaps they might be able to obtain some treasures that only the true dragon cave had. The cultivators who dared to barge into the inner area all showed envious expressions. Everyone knew that the true treasures could only be obtained in the depths. Even if one's luck was off the charts, they would not be able to obtain anything great. Senior brother, how about we try our luck as well? Who knows, we might be able to find something good. A young disciple could not help but suggest to the senior brother beside him when he saw someone else heading deeper into the cave. The slightly older senior brother smiled coldly and said, "Go by yourself. I don't want to die yet. Without being a late-stage, superior-grade martial monarch, you will die for sure. Not to mention the mutated beasts that already exist in the true dragon cave. Even if you obtain the treasures, you will not be able to protect them if others try to snatch them from you." When a young disciple heard this, the fervor in his eyes slowly extinguished. Indeed, no matter how good the treasures were, they were all empty if one didn't have a life to enjoy them. As he sped along, his feet never touching the ground, Shao Chun finally arrived in front of the fiery magma. This was the place where the 7 giants and the others had been stopped. The 7 giants and the others were nowhere to be seen. They must have passed through the lava and gone to a deeper place. Perhaps they had already reached the place where the remains of the true dragon were buried. However, there were also some cultivators with ferocious gazes and overwhelming baleful auras. With one look, it was clear that they were loose cultivators. As they looked at the boundless lava before them, they frowned slightly. "Kaka, finally, there are people who don't want to live anymore. Old friends, I'll be leaving first." One of the gray-robed old men immediately looked over when Shao Chun stopped. It was as if he had found his prey, and his eyes lit up. The gray-robed old man smiled sinisterly and soared into the air, charging at Shao Chun. "Brat, don't blame me for being merciless. Just obediently be my stepping stone." The remaining old men revealed joy in their eyes. They all felt that it was a pity. They hated themselves for being too slow and letting someone snatch the initiative. About peak late-stage, superior-grade martial monarch. He is even weaker than Shiman Bao. With one glance, Shao Chun clearly saw this person's strength. He could not help but smile coldly to himself. This person dares to make a move against me with such little strength? He is truly reckless. The gray-robed old man's figure flashed, and he arrived before Shao Chun in the blink of an eye. When he saw that Shao Chun was only a medial-grade martial monarch, he did not care about him at all. The gray-robed old man's palm surged with quintessence, and his 5 fingers formed a claw. A strong wind blew as he clawed at Shao Chun's head, trying to kill Shao Chun in one strike. The gray-robed old man's 5 fingers gleamed with a cold light. They looked incredibly hard. It was clear that this old man had done a lot of research on claw attacks. Just by relying on these claws, he could easily counter the weapons of cultivators. If a regular medial-grade martial monarch were to face this fast and ruthless claw attack and the interference of the baleful aura, 5 holes would immediately appear in their heads, killing them on the spot. Unfortunately, the gray-robed old man ran into Xiao Chun. Even a half-sage would suffer if they treated Xiao Chun as an ordinary medial-grade martial monarch. Furthermore, the gray-robed old man was just a peak late-stage superior-grade martial monarch loose cultivator. Furthermore, his horrifying baleful aura had no effect on Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun's expression remained calm. Just as the claw was about to touch his head, the blood flowing in his veins quickly activated the ancient sovereign's aura. Xiao Chun's clothes fluttered without any wind. Distant, heavy, dignified, noble, and all sorts of strong auras burst forth from his body like a flash flood. At such a close distance, the gray-robed old man received the vast sovereign's aura in Xiao Chun's body head-on. Space froze, and it felt like a mountain had appeared on the gray-robed old man's shoulder. His movements paused uncontrollably. Murderous intent radiated from Xiao Chun's eyes. He took advantage of the moment the gray-robed old man paused and attacked at lightning speed. Xiao Chun clenched his right hand into a fist, and a strong wind blew as he punched the gray-robed old man's head. Bang! The horrifying force of 1,000 tons of force exploded out like a clap of thunder. There was a burst of scarlet light, and the gray-robed old man's head vanished, turning him into a headless corpse. The gray-robed old man's sharp claws also drooped helplessly. He would never have a chance to touch Xiao Chun again. A look of disgust flashed in Xiao Chun's eyes. Then, he raised his leg and kicked the headless corpse away. Then, the headless corpse slowly fell towards the steaming red lava. The loose cultivators exchanged glances with each other, their jaws hanging open. Disbelief filled their eyes. The surroundings fell silent. From the moment the gray-robed old man stood up to the moment he died, only a few breaths of time had passed. The gray-robed old man, who had been radiating a baleful aura and feeling very pleased with himself a moment ago, died in the next. He did not even have time to turn around. He died just like that. The other loose cultivators paled slightly. Earlier, they had felt an aura that rivaled that of a martial sage erupt from Xiao Chun's body. However, when they looked at Xiao Chun now, they saw that his cultivation was dense and solid. He was definitely a bona fide peak, late-stage, medial-grade martial monarch. There was no other answer. All sorts of things appeared strange and complicated. As the loose cultivators looked at the white-robed bladesman, horror flashed in their eyes. Their cultivations were not much higher than the gray-robed old man's. If Xiao Chun wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. They would not be able to escape death. Xiao Chun glanced around and walked forward. The loose cultivators standing in front of the surging lava were like a god of death. Like a god of death, they all retreated in a hurry, afraid of angering him by blocking the way. A sinister sound came from where the gray-robed old man's headless corpse fell into the surging lava. A strange snake made of round, flaming rocks slithered towards the gray-robed old man's corpse excitedly. Its body squirmed and gave off resplendent sparks. The sparks flickered in the air, causing the air to sizzle. It made everyone tremble in fear. If this person's body fell into the lava, he would definitely be burned until only his bones remained. Kassier, Kassier. The flaming rock snakes chewed on the gray-robed old man's bones, giving off crunching sounds. The flaming rock snakes chewed on the bones of the gray-robed old man, appearing very excited. They moved their bodies and splashed the surging lava everywhere. One of the loose cultivators recovered from the shock brought by Xiao Chun. Then, he flew towards the end of the lava, quickly disappearing into the darkness in front. The flaming rock snakes chewing on the bones did not care about the loose cultivator flying over them at all, immersing themselves in the deliciousness of the bones. Only then did the other loose cultivators come to their senses. As they watched the distant old man, they felt very depressed. At this moment, The flaming rock snakes had already finished chewing on the gray-robed old man's bones. If these loose cultivators continued charging forward, they would immediately be attacked by these strange snakes. Death would be hard to escape. Looking at these strange snakes moving about freely in the surging lava, one could tell that they would not be easy to deal with. From this, one could tell that they were definitely not easy to deal with. If they were to gang up on them, it would be hard for them to escape death. When Xiao Chun saw this, he finally understood why the gray-robed old man attacked him the moment he saw him. It turned out that the gray-robed old man wanted to feed Xiao Chun to these strange snakes to open a path for himself. Xiao Chun turned his head back and looked at the group of loose cultivators. Then he entered deep thought, wondering if he should use these loose cultivators to open a path. Loose cultivators were evil and unorthodox. They cultivated a baleful aura and needed to kill. Furthermore, they killed indiscriminately. Their minds were already twisted, and it could be said that everyone wanted to kill them. Back then, when Shui Lingling and Murong Lingfeng saw Gu Mu and the middle-aged man, they did not hesitate to kill them for no reason. The moment Xiao Chun entered this place, these loose cultivators immediately thought of using him to open a path. This showed how vicious they were. When the other loose cultivators saw the indistinct killing chi in Xiao Chen's eyes, they were all startled and subconsciously took a few steps back. Ouch! Ouch! Right at this moment, in the deepest and darkest depths of the magma, an extremely tragic and shrill cry suddenly rang out. Xiao Chen looked back and saw a faint human-shaped flame burning in the darkness. It was the loose cultivator who dodged the strange snakes earlier. Bang! A clump of golden flame shot out from the lava below and struck that loose cultivator again. The miserable scream stopped, and the loose cultivator was burned to ashes in the air. That old Lu is too unlucky. He managed to get past the strange snakes with great difficulty. Unexpectedly, he got burned by the dragon flame. The dragon flame is the flame of a true dragon. Although it has already diluted significantly in the lava, once it touches him, he will die for sure. This lava is really difficult to deal with. If only we had come earlier. If we left with the Tianwu continent's 7 giants, we would have been much safer. He can only blame himself for this. Why was he so anxious? Now, he's going to lose his life here. When the loose cultivators behind saw this scene, they discussed in low voices. They did not show any sorrow on their faces. On the contrary, they seemed to be rejoicing in old Lu's misfortune. Hearing the words of the loose cultivators behind him, Xiao Chun completely abandoned the thought of using these loose cultivators as stepping stones. He looked at the boiling lava silently. Ao Jiao, how strong is that strange snake? How confident are I of making it through? Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, thought for a moment before replying, "This is a fire flame snake. Their bodies are made of fire flame rock, not flesh and blood. Ordinary quintessence would find it hard to enter their bodies." Chapter 719. Xiao Chun understood something. He raised his head and looked at the boiling lava. He said, "That is to say, if I just use my vital qi, the effect will be much better." Ao Jiao nodded and said, "Yes, that is how it is. However, you need to be careful. If you fall into the lava, no matter how strong you are, you will not be able to save yourself. You also need to be careful not to get sprayed by the dragon flame." The group of loose cultivators behind Xiao Chun communicated with each other with their gazes. They sized up Xiao Chun with malicious intent. Clearly, they had not given up on using him as a stepping stone. Xiao, just as the loose cultivators were hesitating on whether they should charge forward and capture Xiao Chun, a loud whistling sound rang out. A whistling sound rang out. Xiao Chun rode on the azure dragon image and charged into the air above the lava. The loose cultivators all cried out in surprise. They all had strange expressions on their faces. This fellow is too bold. After advancing 500 meters, the fire flame snakes wandering in the lava felt the aura of a living person. They quickly moved and shot out, kicking up large amounts of boiling lava. Pooh! 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 In an instant, 10-odd fire flame snakes launched themselves at Xiao Chun from all directions. Flames flickered in their hole-like eyes before they shot out streams of bright red lava. The lava was so hot that it made the air crackle as steam spread out. Xiao Chun stood on the blue dragon image and calmly took out 2 shields. Then he placed one on the left and one on the right, wrapping himself up tightly. These were peak medial-grade defensive secret treasures. The lava did not burn through them immediately. However, they were incredibly hot. Xiao Chun felt some pain in his hands as he held them. After a while, Xiao Chun, who was hiding behind the shields, felt that the impact from the shields was gone. Xiao Chun waved his hands, and his vital qi surged. Then he tossed out the 2 shields. Bang! Carrying a huge force, the 2 shields spun and flew forward, each knocking down a fire flame snake and causing it to fall to the ground. The remaining fire flame snakes coiled around Xiao Chun, trying to pull him into the lava. Xiao Chun's face sank, and he clenched his right fist tightly. His vital qi surged in his body like a surging river. His qi and blood surged to the peak. Facing an incoming fire flame snake, Xiao Chun circulated his vital qi and executed the 3rd move of the Dragon Claw Fist, breaking armor. A cone-shaped vital qi formed in front of his fist. Then, Xiao Chun punched out 10 times at the 10 fire flame snake flying at him. Bang! The wind generated by the punch was like thunder, the sound reverberating in all directions. The loud sound caused the entire space to tremble. Rocks in the cavern above continued to fall, falling into the lava and being burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. The fire flame snake's body was made up of round fire flame rocks. Xiao Chun's 10 punches landed on a fire flame rock each time. A huge force exploded, and the fire flame stones, which were so hard that they could survive in the lava, were destroyed by Xiao Chun with a single punch. The 10 fire flame snakes tumbled in the air, and their bodies directly scattered into fire flame stones, falling into the lava. There were still 2 fire flame snakes left. Xiao Chun retracted his fist and stood upright. He stomped on the blue dragon's phantom and kicked out twice, bursting the heads of the 2 fire flame snakes. Taking advantage of the rebound, Xiao Chun recalled the shield that was still spinning in the air and shot forward like an arrow. What a terrifying power. Fortunately, we didn't attack him, otherwise we would all die here. I wonder where this ruthless person came from. He has a horrifying physical body and is a peak medial grade martial monarch. Even a peak late-stage superior grade martial monarch would not be able to deal with him easily. Let me take a look at this white-robed cultivator. He is far more than that. Aside from a half-sage, no one can do anything to him. When the loose cultivators on the shore saw this scene, they exchanged glances with each other, feeling a lingering fear. Unexpectedly, the fire flame snakes that gave half-sages a headache actually died so easily at Xiao Chun's hands. Relying on the 2 shields and the horrifying 1,000 tons of force, Xiao Chun swept through the place, shattering all the fire flame snakes that pounced at him. Soon, Xiao Chun's figure vanished into the darkness. Once he dodged the attack of the dragon flame, he would be able to pass this stage. The rocks above him contained light-absorbing stones, which absorbed all the light from the lava. This resulted in darkness, preventing people from seeing the surging lava below. Medial-grade secret treasures were useless against the dragon flame. Xiao Chun put away the 2 shields and carefully flew forward while standing on the blue dragon's phantom. Even though the lava had diluted it by 100 times, it was still a true dragon flame. Before this dragon flame, Xiao Chun's rank 1 sage body was no different from an ordinary body. He would die upon contact. Xiao Chun could not see anything in the darkness. The unforeseeable danger made him feel uneasy. Xiao Chun held his breath and focused. He did not panic or get flustered as he quickly flew forward. A golden light appeared, disappearing in a flash. The light was piercing. Xiao Chun could not help but close his eyes, leaving only a slit in them. However, he did not move blindly, as this dragon flame did not come from below. Boom, boom, boom. The further Xiao Chun went, the more frequent the dragon flame erupted. Furthermore, There was no pattern to it. The cave flickered with light, making it hard to remain calm. If Xiao Chun panicked at this moment and dodged randomly, there was a high chance he would end up crashing into the dragon flame. Xiao Chun focused and guarded his qi, his heart calm. Along the way, the cultivation of his mental state was already much higher than that of his peers, and he would never be in a state of panic. Suddenly, Xiao Chun thought of something. He gently pushed off the blue dragon's phantom and spun around, moving forward. Pusi. The golden dragon flame instantly pierced through the head of the blue dragon's phantom, which was where Xiao Chun stood earlier. Z. The azure dragon image formed by veritable essence energy burned into nothing in that instant. Whoosh! As Xiao Chun stood in the air, another stream of dragon flame spewed out from below. It brushed past his nose and brushed past his shoulder. Xiao Chun could clearly feel the scorching heat. If he had used a little more force when he dodged earlier, the dragon flame would have burned him to ashes. That was close. After brushing past death, Xiao Chun calmed himself down. Then, he moved even more carefully. After 1 hour, Xiao Chun finally made it through the dark region and landed on the shore. When Xiao Chun turned his head back to look at the pitch-black danger zone, he felt a lingering fear. Strength, mental state, and luck were all necessary to make it through this place. No wonder Xiao Chun could block the 7 giants group of proud talents for so long. After passing this place, Xiao Chun looked ahead. His field of vision brightened, and a vast expanse appeared. Dense immortal qi surged over. Immortal qi even purer than spiritual energy. At the limits of Xiao Chun's vision, he could see the figures of several cultivators moving about, searching for spirit herbs and precious ores that grew in the true dragon cave. After walking for 1 kilometer, Xiao Chun saw the corpses of a few cultivators. Beside the corpses was a bare scarlet tree trunk. The spirit fruits on the tree trunk had already been picked clean. Only this tree trunk was left, devoid of any signs of life, looking like it had withered. Hey, it looks like a spirit tree that can bear blood flame fruits. It is not dead yet. Xiao Chun, bring it in. Your immortal spirit ring can support it. Ao Jiao, who was taking care of the lunar cassia tree in the ring's world, spoke up. Xiao Chun smiled and said, "It will probably take another few hundred years for it to mature." Even though Xiao Chun said that, he still followed Ao Jiao's instructions. This place was not dangerous. Digging out the blood flame tree would not take much time, so there was nothing to complain about. Ao Jiao giggled and said, "Let's see if we can find a few more spirit tree trunks later. Not everyone has a peak-grade immortal spirit ring. If we are lucky, we can collect some spirit trees here and turn them into a simple herb garden. It will probably take a few hundred years for it to take shape," Xiao Chun thought to himself. The true dragon cave was indeed a land of treasures. As Xiao Chun continued forward, he found several more spirit trees that could not be seen in the outside world. However, all the spirit fruits on them had already been picked clean, leaving only bare tree trunks. No one cared about them. So, Xiao Chun collected them all and moved them into the immortal spirit ring. The number of cultivators that Xiao Chun saw increased, gradually catching up with the main group. Glancing around, Xiao Chun discovered a familiar person far in front. It was Shimin Bao of the Shimin clan, one of the Tianwu domain's 4 great clans. Shimin Bao's appearance had not changed much. However, his arrogance was much more restrained than before. This was because none of the people around him were weak. Aside from Shimin Bao, Xiao Chun also saw the top genius of the battle realms, Niu Deng, and a peak late-stage superior-grade martial monarch, a black-clad loose cultivator. The 3 stood in a triangle, separated by 500 meters. A glistening, scarlet spirit fruit stood in the middle of the 3. It exuded overwhelming spiritual energy and looked very tempting. There were several cultivators around the 3. Their eyes flickered as they stared at the scarlet spirit fruit greedily. However, there were already 3 experts eyeing this spirit fruit. The others could only watch. They would not dare to snatch it, even if they had the courage. The dragon mark fruit contains dragon energy. It can increase a cultivator's strength by 150 tons of force. Among the treasures in this true dragon cave, it would definitely rank within the top 20. So what if it is valuable? Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and Dan Tianyu, who is ranked in the top 70 of the evil cultivator ranking, have their eyes on it. We have no chance at all. The surrounding people discussed in soft voices as they stared at the dragon mark fruit. Their words were filled with regret. I wonder which of the three will obtain the dragon mark fruit. I feel that Shimin Bao has the highest chance. He is from a noble clan and has a high cultivation. His strength is second only to the 7 giants. It is hard to say. Niu Deng deserves his reputation as the top genius of the battle realms. Before he came, he was evenly matched with Feng Xingxing. Dan Tianyu is the oldest and has the deepest cultivation. Furthermore, he cultivates a baleful aura. He should not be weaker than these two. It is hard to say who will emerge victorious. Everyone was very interested in who would obtain the dragon mark fruit in the end. They could foresee that it wouldn't take long. They could foresee that soon, the three would start a huge battle for the dragon mark fruit, fighting to the death. Shimin Bao glanced at Niu Deng, then at Dan Tianyu. He said, I advise you not to fight with me. If you offend me and provoke my great-grandfather, none of you will have a good ending. When the tall Niu Deng heard this, he smiled coldly and said, Shimin Bao, who are you trying to scare? Not to mention whether your great-grandfather will make a move over such a trivial matter. Even if he does, do you think the seniors of our battle realms and the Bushin Palace are just decorations? Chapter 720. The 10 great battle realms have been famous for a long time. Naturally, Emperor Wu held an important position in the Bushin Palace. Hence, he did not fear Shimin Bao. Furthermore, the Shimin clan's Emperor Wu would not teach them a lesson over such a trivial matter. Everyone could imagine how precious Emperor Wu's time was. Dan Tianyu smiled sinisterly and said, This old man is just a loose cultivator. At worst, I will just leave the Tianwu domain. Brat, you are too inexperienced to use this to threaten me. Shimin Bao's gaze turned sinister as rage burned in his eyes. This dragon mark fruit held a great attraction to cultivators who did not cultivate the physical body. Just think about it. If one could obtain 150 tons of force without enduring the pain of tempering the physical body, it would be equivalent to raising one's overall strength by 10%. Shimin Bao said sullenly, Give this dragon mark fruit to me. If you want to fight for any other spirit fruits, I, Shimin Bao, will do my best to help you. Niu Deng laughed loudly, and a ferocious light flashed in his eyes. He said coldly, Shimin Bao, who does not know what kind of person you are? How much is your reputation worth? This old man will tell you the truth. We Battle Realm cultivators are born with divine strength. With the help of the dragon mark fruit, we are like tigers that have grown wings. This dragon mark fruit belongs to me. No one can snatch it away from me. Dan Tianyu laughed softly and said, How unfortunate. This old man has a friend who cultivates the physical body. This dragon mark fruit can be used to exchange for a treasure that I have long been interested in. This old man will not give this dragon mark fruit to anyone else. The three's auras surged, not giving way to each other. A huge battle could break out at any moment. Xiao Chun, who was standing on a rock in the distance, saw all this. He smiled gently and said, Dragon mark fruit. Unexpectedly, after entering the depths of the true dragon cave, I immediately ran into such a good thing. Roar. A dragon roar came from Xiao Chen's chest. He stood on a blue dragon image and executed the blue dragon tail whip. Xiao Chun moved in a huge arc and moved like a gust of wind, flashing above everyone's heads. In an instant, he arrived above the dragon mark fruit. Before the three could react, Xiao Chun had already moved. With a suction force, the dragon mark fruit flew into his right hand. When the blue dragon swung its tail, it was like a gust of wind blowing past. It was incredibly fast. Shimin Bao and the other two were currently focused on their opponents. However, their attention on the dragon mark fruit had decreased significantly, giving Xiao Chun an opportunity. They had not expected someone to be so bold as to snatch the dragon mark fruit right in front of the three of them. By the time Xiao Chun reacted, the dragon mark fruit was already in Xiao Chen's hands. He had placed it in his universe ring. Seeing the dragon mark fruit snatched away, Shimin Bao immediately became enraged. He roared, "Where did this dog come from? How dare he snatch my Shimin Bao's things?" Clang! The sword was unsheathed, and the surging sword chi, along with the faint sword intent, emitted a buzzing sound as it shot toward Xiao Chun. The sword chi was like a pillar, like a rainbow that tore through the sun, and it swept out in all directions with unstoppable might. Niu Deng's expression sank, and he immediately leaped up. He clenched his fist and activated the ancient giant's bloodline. Then, he roared ferociously with a vast might. A sinister look flashed in Dan Tianyu's eyes. He drew a short sword and turned around, silently arriving behind Xiao Chun. The short sword gave off a cold light. Unexpectedly, Dan Tianyu wanted to cut off Xiao Chen's arm, which was wearing the universe ring. It was extremely vicious. When the cultivators below, who were originally anticipating the fight between the three experts, saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. They had not expected such a scene to occur. Unexpectedly, someone was so bold as to snatch away the dragon mark fruit, offending all three experts in an instant. The three attacked at different times. Xiao Chen did not panic. He circulated the 1,000 tons of force of vital qi in his body and executed the Dragon Claw Fist's third move, breaking armor. A sharp shockwave formed in front of Xiao Chen's fist. When Xiao Chen punched, the breaking armor attribute of breaking armor shattered the thick and dense sword qi. After shattering the sword qi, Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu took advantage of this opportunity to charge toward Xiao Chun. One of them carried the vast might of an ancient giant. His fist was like a mountain descending, wanting to smash Xiao Chun into a pile of meat paste. The other person was sinister and vicious. He radiated a baleful aura as he brandished his short sword, wanting to chop off Xiao Chen's arm and flee. When the two arrived before Xiao Chun, their faces lit up with joy. At such a close distance, this white-robed brat of unknown origins would not be able to deal with the two of them at the same time. Xiao Chun smiled faintly, and the strong, ancient sovereign's bloodline in his body instantly activated. An ancient, noble, distant, and epic sovereign's aura spread out from Xiao Chen's body. Before this mountain-like sovereign's aura, the ancient giant's bloodline and the baleful aura accumulated by loose cultivators were like fallen leaves in autumn, swept away. Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu showed startled expressions at the same time. The sovereign's aura at such a close distance struck them. They could not help feeling flustered, a fear that came from the depths of their hearts. Oh no! The two of them were experts who had experienced hundreds of battles. They immediately realized that something was wrong. They struggled free from the sovereign's aura and tried to retreat. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave and stern. How could he give the two an opportunity to retreat so easily? Xiao Chen stomped heavily on the blue dragon image. His body was like a ferocious tiger as he infused 1,000 tons of force in his right leg. Bang! 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 Xiao Chen's leg moved like lightning. The instant his body soared into the air, he swept out. A strong wind blew, and his momentum was like thunder. Two muffled sounds rang out as Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu each received a kick to their cheeks. They vomited a mouthful of blood as their bodies spun in the air and fell miserably to the ground. In a few breaths, Xiao Chun easily broke the attacks of the three experts. He even executed a beautiful counterattack, sending Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu flying back. Xiao Chen's white robes fluttered, and his eyes remained calm like water. Then, he gently landed on the blue dragon image and looked at the three calmly. Damn it! Who is this person? Unexpectedly, he broke the attacks of three experts so easily. I have never heard of such an expert in the Tianwu domain before. Furthermore, he is so young. He seems to be cultivating his physical body. However, the quintessence in his body is very dense. Could he be a dual cultivator? The surrounding people were all stunned. They revealed doubtful expressions as they looked at the white-robed Xiao Chun. No matter how they thought about it, they could not imagine when such an expert appeared in the Tianwu domain. When Shimin Bao clearly saw Xiao Chen's appearance, he became thoroughly enraged. A murderous intent erupted in his eyes like a flood. He said coldly, First, you injure my Shimin clan's people. Now you are here to snatch my dragon mark fruit. It looks like you are tired of living." Xiao Chen's face sank. A large part of the reason why he did not immediately leave after obtaining the dragon mark fruit was to teach this Shimin Bao a lesson. The Shimin clan's people were arrogant and despotic. First, they wanted to snatch Xiao Chen's earth essence fruit. Then, when they failed, they tried to kill him, setting up an ambush to kill him. He had never been a kind-hearted person. Even when he was bullied by others, he still had to swallow the humiliation. Xiao, a strong wind blew, and to everyone's surprise, Xiao Chun took the lead. His aura was like a berserk dragon, not waiting for Shimin Bao to finish speaking before he charged over. The image of a blue dragon condensed on Xiao Chen's fist. The dragon head roared ferociously as it charged at Shimin Bao. Shimin Bao smiled coldly and withdrew his sword light. Then he swung his sword, infused with vast quintessence, at the dragon head, trying to shatter it. However, Xiao Chun was no longer the Xiao Chun of half a month ago. His vital qi had already broken through 1,000 tons of force. Every 500 tons of force was a threshold. With every threshold, there would be a qualitative improvement. On the surface, Xiao Chen's strength had only increased by 100 tons of force. However, it was on a completely different level from before. The dragon head and the sword clashed, neither giving way to the other. An intense explosion resulted in a strong wind surging out in all directions, kicking up a large amount of dust. The fist and the sword were evenly matched. Then, Xiao Chun opened his left hand and formed a claw. Then, he pressed forward and clawed at Shimin Bao's chest with the berserk dragon claw. Shimin Bao showed a shocked expression. He could not understand how Xiao Chun could improve so quickly. Just based on vital qi, Xiao Chun could fight him to a draw. However, the azure-colored dragon claw already arrived. Shimin Bao did not have much time to think. He pushed off the ground and retreated, trying to put some distance between them. The fist and the claw switched places. Xiao Chun followed Shimin Bao like a shadow, not giving him any chance to put some distance between them. Xiao Chun forced Shimin Bao back continuously. Xiao Chen's fist and claw contained 1,000 tons of force. When their vital qi exploded, the entire cave trembled. The rocks above them fell off. Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu had stood up long ago. When they saw Xiao Chun and Shimin Bao fighting, they did not make a move to help. Their gazes flickered as they searched for an opportunity. To them, both Shimin Bao and Xiao Chun were opponents. It would be best if the two fought to the death. Shimin Bao's expression turned increasingly unsightly. After Xiao Chun closed in, Shimin Bao no longer had a chance. He could only keep dodging, unable to find an opportunity to put some distance between them. Dan Tianyu, Niu Deng, how long are you two going to keep watching? Damn it, this old man is going to be crippled soon. Feeling helpless, Shimin Bao shouted at Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu. Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu could not help but show startled expressions. What kind of character was Shimin Bao? He was someone second only to the 7 giants of the Tianwu domain's younger generation. Shimin Bao had always been arrogant, despotic, and unreasonable. Unexpectedly, he ended up begging for mercy like that. Dan Tianyu said sullenly, "Let's work together to defeat this brat first. Then, we can fight for the dragon mark fruit." Niu Deng touched the footprint on his cheek with his right hand. A grave look flashed in his eyes as he nodded heavily. Xiao Chun had been observing Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu with his spiritual sense. He was very familiar with their actions. Xiao Chen's gaze turned cold, and he stopped wasting time with Shimin Bao. He used the armor-breaking fist to shatter Shimin Bao's protective quintessence before executing seizing the heart. Xiao Chen's 5 fingers turned into claws as he ruthlessly pressed them on Shimin Bao's chest. Dang! Xiao Chen's 5 fingers struck something hard. Xiao Chen's sure kill strike did not succeed. He only managed to knock Shimin Bao back and vomit a mouthful of blood. It looks like the inner vest he is wearing is not ordinary. Xiao Chan frowned slightly. He guessed that Shimin Bao was wearing a life-saving secret treasure. He looked coldly at Shimin Bao, who fell to the ground, and ignored him. The blue dragon under Xiao Chen's feet circled around and turned around. When he saw Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu pouncing over again, Xiao Chun waved his left hand, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his right hand. It is too late to think of working together now. At this moment, Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu no longer held back. They both used their trump cards, heaven-ranked martial techniques. Xiao Chen's gaze remained calm, not showing any fear. He silently circulated his energy for Soaring Dragon, and his vast quintessence flowed like a river in his body. Chapter 721. Hidden Dragon in the Depths. A gentleman takes action after planning. Soaring Dragon in the sky. Its might shakes the surroundings. A surging energy surged throughout Xiao Chen's body. The blue dragon martial spirit hidden in his dantian moved gently and leaped out. Xiao Chen also took a gentle step in the air. With a light step, he caused the void to tremble and the entire space to shake. The blue dragon martial spirit soared up. Just as it was about to break out of his body, Xiao Chun finally drew the saber in his hand. Xiao Chun transformed into a true dragon. His body merged with his saber like a true dragon that had been in hibernation for a long time. The sharp saber light was like a soaring true dragon swinging its claws in rage. The dragon soared into the sky. The man and the saber merged perfectly. There were no openings at all. At this moment, Xiao Chun was like a dragon, a soaring dragon. No one could stop him or block him. Xiao Chen's saber was the claws of this dragon's rage. Xiao Chun completely grasped the feeling of drawing his saber when Soaring Dragon in the sky, which he had been unable to find. On the contrary, Xiao Chen's mental state was clear. Aside from Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu executing their heaven-ranked martial techniques, he saw nothing else. Bang! The unparalleled saber disappeared in a flash, shattering Niu Deng's and Dan Tianyu's incomplete heaven-ranked martial techniques. Although they were both heaven-ranked martial techniques, one grasped the move while the other only imitated it. At this moment, they were on completely different levels. From a distance, in that instant, Xiao Chun looked like a true dragon, carrying an unparalleled might as he soared into the sky. Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu, who were blocking the true dragon, got knocked back in one exchange. The berserk saber chi easily broke their protective quintessence shields. The saber chi left countless wounds on their bodies, causing blood to spurt out. Horrifying wounds covered their entire bodies. They were so deep that their bones could be seen, excruciating pain. Clang! Xiao Chun sheathed his saber. Then, he turned around and stood calmly in the air. He glanced at the two groaning people on the ground. Then, he looked at Shimin Bao, who was not far away, frightened silly when he climbed to his feet. An indiscernible look of disappointment flashed in his eyes, but he remained silent. After a while, Xiao Chen rode on the blue dragon and left, leaving only his back to Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and the others. These people didn't know that from now on, they could only see Xiao Chen's back. Once he surpassed her, she would never have the chance to catch up. Shimin Bao was very excited. Shimin Bao caught the imperceptible disappointment in Xiao Chen's eyes. That was contempt. Shimin Bao's talent was outstanding, second only to the 7 giants of the younger generation. However, today a 5th-ranked white robe bladesman looked down on him. Shimin Bao's emotions fluctuated too much, affecting the wound on his chest. He could not help but cough a few times. The more he coughed, the more painful it became. In the end, he actually coughed out a large mouthful of blood. In reality, he didn't know that even before Xiao Chen's cultivation and strength increased, Xiao Chen was already able to easily escape from his hands. It wasn't as simple as he thought. Now that Xiao Chen's cultivation had increased significantly, his quintessence had refined twice. His vital qi had crossed the threshold of 1,000 tons of force, and he had comprehended the essence of soaring dragon. Naturally, it would be easy for Shao Chun to defeat Shao Chun. Everything was within reason. Now, among the younger generation of the Tianwu domain, only the 7 giants could suppress Shao Chun. I know who he is. Suddenly, an excited shout came from the crowd behind Shao Chun, sounding very anxious. He is that white-robed bladesman from the Haotian sect, the one who challenged Bai Wuxiu. The challenge that Shao Chun issued to Bai Wuxiu at Giant Sword Peak had already spread throughout the Tianwu domain. Everyone knew about it. However, most people just took it as a joke and did not care too much about it. Some even called Shao Chun a madman. However, at this moment, after seeing Shao Chun defeat Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and Dan Tianyu, no one dared to look down on Shao Chun and say that Shao Chun was a madman. Is that him? This is incredible. No matter what, he is now qualified to challenge Bai Wuxiu. It has been so many years. The 7 giants of the Tianwu domain are like a mountain, suppressing the younger generation. Perhaps the situation of the Tianwu domain, which has not changed for many years, is about to change. He should be going to the burial grounds. Bai Wuxiu went there long ago. Come, let's go and take a look as well. Let's stop searching for treasures and go take a look. I really want to see what kind of sparks will fly when Bai Wuxiu meets this brat. The disciples of the various sects felt excited, their blood surging uncontrollably. They all gave up on searching for treasures and chased after Shao Chun. Soon, all the cultivators in this place had left. Only Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and Dan Tianyu remained, making the place seem rather deserted. Previously, the 3 of them had been the focus of everyone's attention when a huge battle was about to erupt. Who could have imagined that in the blink of an eye, everyone's attention would be snatched away by Shao Chun? They no longer paid any attention to the 3 of them, losing all interest in them. Niu Deng struggled to his feet. His earlier rage had already vanished. His gaze was calm as he cursed softly. For a heaven-ranked martial technique, power is the most important. I have to go back and comprehend my own power. Otherwise, I am nothing. After Shao Chun spoke, he did not care about anything else. Unexpectedly, he headed back, giving up on the fortuitous encounter in the True Dragon Cave. Shimin Bao suffered a heavy blow as well. He muttered, I finally understand the difference between me and the 7 giants. The experts of the Tianwu domain, second only to the 7 giants. Smiling self-mockingly, Shimin Bao said, In the past, I was very happy about this title. Now that I think about it, it is really laughable. There are at least 80 people who are second to the 7 giants. However, there are only 7 of the 7 giants. What do I count for? Shimin Bao felt incomparably fatigued. He shook his head and followed Niu Deng's footsteps, heading back. Perhaps losing the dragon mark fruit this time was not a bad thing. As for Dan Tianyu, he could not just leave like that. He was already very old. He needed to make use of this opportunity to see if he could find an opportunity to break through to half-sage. If he could not find one, he would remain a peak late-stage superior-grade martial monarch for the rest of his life, until he died. The burial ground has the remains of a true dragon. However, the competition is too intense. I will definitely not get a chance to obtain the good stuff. Coincidentally, the people here are all gone. I will search around. Dan Tianyu treated his injuries and started to search around the area. He hoped to find a few good treasures that he could exchange for some resources when he left. Riding on the blue dragon, Shao Chun moved up and down. With a map to guide him, he moved very quickly. The burial ground had the remains of a true dragon. The entire skeleton of a true dragon was a treasure. Any piece of true dragon bone could be forged into a superior gray bone weapon. It could also be ground into medicinal powder or refined into all sorts of precious medicinal pills. As for the vertebrae on the back, they could be forged into a bone dragon whip, a powerful bone weapon. To Shao Chun, what he needed was the dragon marrow hidden in the vertebrae of a true dragon. However, the dragon marrow depended on the probability. Not every skeleton had the dragon marrow, which was why it was so precious. If nothing unexpected happened, all the half-sage experts who came for experiential training would appear in the burial ground. Not only the seven giants and loose cultivators of the Tianwu domain, but also the half-sage loose cultivators of the fiend race. Xiao Chun could foresee that the competition in the burial ground would be incredibly intense. With so many half-sage experts watching, it would be incredibly difficult for Xiao Chun to obtain the dragon marrow. Whether he could obtain what he wanted was still unknown. After about 7 or 8 minutes, the burial ground appeared before Xiao Chun's eyes. It was an extremely spacious cave. When Xiao Chun looked up, he saw that the ceiling was at least a kilometer above the ground. The vast cave was filled with dense, true dragon qi. A vast dragon might was everywhere, assaulting one's face and making breathing difficult. There were 5 true dragon remains in the cave. There were at least 2 teams fighting intensely for each true dragon skeleton. This was especially so for the largest true dragon skeleton in the middle. There were 7 or 8 half-sages engaged in a horrifying battle. No one dared to approach rashly. The terrifying energy ripples in the air did not stop for even a second. The sound of weapons clashing could be heard continuously. The scene was extremely chaotic. Occasionally, the miserable cries of cultivators rang out. For the sake of the most precious treasures in the true dragon cave, everyone's eyes turned bloodshot. Xiao Chen looked around and finally found Shui Lingling. She led Hu Hai's group and fought with the extreme Yin sect disciples led by Bai Wuxue, fighting for a true dragon skeleton. However, the situation did not look good. Xiao Chun and Bai Wuxue were evenly matched. However, the extreme Yin sect disciples forced Hu Hai and the others into a retreat. The situation was grim. If Hu Hai and the others were defeated, the remaining true inheritors of the extreme Yin sect will be able to free themselves and break the stalemate between Xiao Chun and Bai Wuxue. Then, they would no longer be able to obtain that true dragon skeleton. When Xiao Chun noticed Wang Cheng, he paused for a moment and suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. Then, he grasped his lunar shadow saber and calmly flew in the direction of Shui, Lingling, and the others. The extreme Yin sect was one of the 9 ranks of the great families in the north. There were 2 publicly known Emperor Wu in the sect. They had deep accumulations and were stronger than the Haotian sect. The true inheritors of the extreme Yin sect were stronger than the Haotian sect. Hu Hai, Jun Si, Wang Cheng, and Chun Xiao each had to fight 1 person each. It was very taxing for them. All of them had a few wounds on their bodies, and their combat prowess plummeted. The situation was dire. Hee, Hu Hai, you can't hold on for much longer. In that case, you should give up. This true dragon skeleton is definitely our extreme Yin sect. The one fighting Hu Hai was a tall and skinny disciple of the extreme Yin sect. He wore blue robes and held a 1-meter-long sword in his hand. His exquisite sword techniques and deep cultivation completely suppressed Hu Hai's huge axe, preventing him from bringing it out. The huge axe was originally focused on large swings, advancing indomitably and tyrannically. However, at this moment, Hu Hai's movements were flustered and he could only defend passively. The extreme Yin sect swordsman completely grasped the rhythm of the battle, forcing Hu Hai into a sorry state. If he was not careful, his protective quintessence would break, and a sword wound would appear on his body. Hu Hai clenched his teeth and did not say anything. He stubbornly resisted the other party's attacks, doing his best to find an opportunity to turn the situation around. Chapter 722. The cultivations of the other 3 were even lower than Hu Hai's. Clearly, they were in an even worse state. They were surrounded by danger, like fallen leaves in a strong wind. They could fall at any moment. Shui Lingling, who was fighting Bai Wuxue, wanted to help. However, she could not free herself. After all, Xiao Chun was best at mid-range and long-range combat. If she could distance herself from Bai Wuxue and fight one-on-one, she would definitely be stronger than him. However, at this moment, Shui Lingling was in close combat, swinging her purple bow. She simply could not free herself to do so. It was already very difficult for Xiao Chun to remain undefeated against Bai Wuxue. Bai Wuxue had a relaxed expression. Snowflakes drifted around him as he stood amidst the wind and snow. He smiled faintly and said, Shui Lingling, I admit that you are stronger than me. Unfortunately, your junior brothers are not up to standard. I advise you to give up on this true dragon remains, lest you humiliate yourself in the future. Shui Lingling showed a slightly angry expression as she thought to herself, if Xiao Chun were here, I would not be in such a passive position. Thinking of Xiao Chun, Shui Lingling immediately blamed herself. If she had not insisted on going through the true dragon store back then, Xiao Chun would not have died in there. Xiao! Bai Wushui's eyes lit up. He immediately caught on to the opening that Shui Lingling revealed while she was distracted. He pressed forward, and snowflakes gathered in his palm. His palm immediately turned as smooth as jade as he pressed it towards Shui Lingling at lightning speed. It was silent and contained a strong killing intent. By the time Shui Lingling reacted, it was already too late to dodge. She could only receive this palm, strike head-on. The cold chi poured into Shui Lingling's body like a gust of wind. Her red lips turned pale, and a faint layer of frost covered her fine black hair. Shui Lingling vomited a mouthful of blood and quickly retreated 100 meters. Then, she quickly circulated the profound yang art, and a white mist rose from her body. Only after she expelled the cold chi from her body did her complexion improve. The wind and snow did not stop, and cold chi spread everywhere. Bai Wuxue smiled coldly and said, Shui Lingling, to think that you would make such a low-level mistake. You really disappoint me. Bang! Suddenly, a painful cry came from below. It was the Haoyan Sect's Jun Si. She finally could not hold on any longer, and her weapon was knocked out of her hand by her opponent. After that, Jun Si was sent flying with a palm strike. She vomited a mouthful of blood, her face pale. The person who injured her laughed sinisterly. With a flicker, he wanted to give her the final blow. When Bai Wuxue saw this scene, he could not help but laugh loudly. He shouted coldly, Shui Lingling, you have already suffered a crushing defeat. Are you still going to persist? Reluctance appeared on Shui Lingling's pretty face. However, now that the situation had turned around and she no longer had any chance, she could only give up. The hearts of Hu Hai and the others were filled with despair. It was not easy for them to arrive at this burial ground, but in the end, it was all for naught. They could not obtain anything. Huff! Just at this moment, a gust of wind blew past and swept up Jun Si's body. The wind spun around and pounced toward the person who had injured her. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous explosion resounded in the calm air, causing space to tremble. That extreme insect disciple cried out miserably. His ribs broke, and he went flying back in a sorry state, crashing into the huge true dragon remains. That extreme insect disciple's face twisted in unbearable pain. Blood flowed out of a corner of his mouth like a fountain, and a deep reluctance appeared in his eyes. The sudden appearance of a strong wind shocked everyone. They could not help but pause as they looked over. The strong wind stopped. Xiao Chun, who was riding on 3 blue dragons and executing the cloud-soaring art to its limits, slowly revealed himself. Junior brother Xiao Chun, you are not dead. Jun Si, who was in Xiao Chen's embrace, opened her eyes wide, filled with boundless joy. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. Then, he extended his hand and sent out a gentle energy, slowly pushing Jun Si's body down. Hu Hai's and Chun Zhao's faces lit up with joy. When they saw that Xiao Chun had returned alive and that his strength had improved significantly, even injuring an extreme insect disciple with 1 palm strike, their spirits were lifted. Only Wang Chung paled. His heart trembled as if he had seen a nightmare. He muttered, how can this fellow not be dead? However, Wang Cheng's opponent did not care at all. Taking advantage of Wang Cheng's state of confusion, he kicked Wang Cheng's face and sent him flying. Xiao Chun gently drifted over to Shui Lingling's side. He said, first senior sister, leave this person to me. You go down and deal with those bugs. When Shui Lingling saw that Xiao Chun was not dead, the knot in her heart immediately loosened. A smile finally appeared on her cold face. However, when she heard Xiao Chun say that, she asked somewhat worriedly, can you really do it? Xiao Chen smiled confidently. Then he looked at Bai Wuxiue and said, naturally, it is impossible to defeat him. However, blocking 100 moves from him will be easy. After 100 moves, Shui Lingling would definitely deal with the problem below. At that time, she would surround Bai Wuxiue and defeat him without a doubt. I believe in you. Shui Lingling smiled gently and floated down. She gently pulled back her bowstring and forced Hu Hai's opponent to retreat quickly. Bai Wuxiue was expressionless as he looked coldly at Xiao Chun. He smiled in disdain and said, I really wonder what fortuitous encounter you had to give you such confidence that you want to die so badly. Xiao Chun smiled gently and drew the lunar shadow saber with his left hand. Then he stood on the blue dragon image and said calmly, I will stand here. Let's see how you are going to kill me. Great ice palm. The snowflakes drifting in the air suddenly gathered together and formed a huge ice palm. It appeared out of nowhere and pressed towards Xiao Chun like an ice mountain. This move appeared out of nowhere and was untraceable. However, it was extraordinarily mighty. It had once reduced Xiao Chun to a sorry state. The purple clouds gathered in Xiao Chen's dantian scattered and turned into surging quintessence. They flowed through Xiao Chen's meridians like a surging river. Instantly, Xiao Chen's quintessence surged, and his clothes fluttered without any wind. He circulated all his quintessence at this moment. The immortal state of thunder and the perfect 70% comprehended saber intent all gathered together. Xiao Chun was extremely focused. A saber light flashed, and a purple bolt of lightning tore through the sky. It lit up the dark burial ground. Saber intent, state, quintessence. Everything gathered on the lunar shadow saber and turned into a resplendent purple saber, light surging out. Kassier. The light paused, and the great ice palm was chopped in half. It brushed past Xiao Chun and shattered, turning into ice shards filling the air. The residual static in the air crackled and exploded into water droplets, falling to the ground. Pointing his saber at Bai Wuxiue, Xiao Chun stood on the blue dragon. His white robes fluttered, and a boundless fighting spirit filled his heart. Seeing Xiao Chun break his great ice palm so easily, Bai Wuxiue's pupils constricted. He was clearly surprised. He clearly remembered that half a month ago, when Xiao Chun faced his great ice palm, he was in a sorry state. Xiao Chen had to use his trump card before he could barely block it. How could Xiao Chen improve so much in such a short time? They're fighting. They're really fighting. When the sect cultivators who had chased after Xiao Chun saw Xiao Chun pointing his saber at Bai Wuxiue, they immediately cried out. There were 5 true dragon remains in the burial ground. Naturally, the place where the most intense battle took place was the one in the center, where the Thunder and Lightning Palaces and Juanshi fought against 5 fiend race loose cultivators. And Juanshi's strength was as strong as the rumors said. As electric light flashed around, he easily fought against the 5 fiend race loose cultivators. And Juanshi stood proudly on the dragon skeleton. With 1 person and 1 whip, he firmly suppressed the 5 fiend race half-sage loose cultivators, keeping them at bay. However, and Juanshi had been famous for a long time already. Although such strength was shocking, it was within reason. The fight was not as exciting as the one between Xiao Chun and Bai Wuxiue. The 7 giants of the Tianwu domain had not met with a proper challenger for many years. These 7 giants held noble statuses and were famous far and wide. There were rumors of them everywhere. They had stood strong for more than 10 years, and their golden reputation was deeply rooted in everyone's hearts. Originally, everyone treated Xiao Chun as a joke. However, when they saw Xiao Chun defeat Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and Dan Tianyu, 3 experts, no one dared to think that way anymore. Chapter 723. The many cultivators who followed all focused their gazes on Xiao Chun and Bai Wuxiue, clearly excited. After not seeing you for some time, you have become more capable. However, in the end, you will not be able to escape death. Bai Wuxiue snorted coldly. His figure flashed, and a boundless snowflake appeared. In an instant, He arrived before Xiao Chun and sent a palm strike at Xiao Chen's head. 3 azure dragons circled around Xiao Chun as he took 3 steps back. His saber light danced around, giving off resplendent electric light. It blasted the drifting snowflakes into raindrops, which fell to the ground one by one. The other party's state of ice was extremely strong. It had already touched the boundary of the will of ice. If Xiao Chun could not use his state of thunder to neutralize it, it would severely affect his speed. When the cold chi entered the body and accumulated to a certain level, it would turn into a cold poison. At that time, he would lose even if he did not lose. Although Xiao Chen's state of thunder was weaker than his opponent's, it contained the immortal attribute. It would not crumble that easily. Bang! Bai Wushue's palm was as smooth as jade, giving off a cold light. When it touched the saber, it gave off a cold light and instantly sealed the lunar shadow saber in ice. A frost-like white mist spread from the tip of the saber to the hilt, trying to seal Xiao Chun in ice. Xiao Chun clenched 2 fingers on his left hand. His expression did not change as he placed them on the bottom of the saber. The dense lightning-attributed quintessence turned into a lightning-attributed fire that soared upwards. The fire immediately melted the cold chi, and the hot chi scattered like a white mist. However, Bai Wuxue did not even bother to look at it. He continued forward and used his palm as a saber, hacking at Xiao Chen's head. The drifting snowflakes condensed into a line and formed a saber light that was as cold as metal. When the cold light appeared, it gave off a dazzling, snow-white light. Xiao Chen leaned back and quickly dodged, not giving Bai Wuxue a chance to get close. Xiao, Bai Wushue's earlier saber light, turned into an ice mirror. If Xiao Chun had been too fast, he would have been stuck in the ice mirror. Snowflakes drifted down, and lightning flashed everywhere. The 2 people in the air moved faster and faster, so fast that it was hard to distinguish them. He could only see 2 blurry shadows, one white and one blue. The blue shadow was cold and threatening, while the white shadow was filled with electricity. The saber chi and the palm wind clashed. Boundless energy flew in all directions and blasted deep pits on the ground. Strange, who exactly is it? Even after Bai Wuxue used his full strength, he could not land quickly. Wang Ming, who had already won, stood on a true dragon corpse, looking confused. Wang Ming was the most flamboyant of the 7 giants. Even if he met Nguyen Muyun, one of the 3 holy masters, he would not back down. He asked his fellow disciples behind him, "Who is that white figure? Do any of you know?" The others scratched their heads, unable to figure it out. A younger female disciple said uncertainly, "Could it be that madman from the Haotian sect? That person also likes to wear white. He is also a bladesman." When that female disciple finished talking about Xiao Chun, Wang Ming's expression changed slightly. An excited expression flashed in his eyes as he said, "Interesting. Unexpectedly, such a madman appeared in the Tianwu domain. Unexpectedly, Wang Ming, did not know about it." Across from Wang Ming was another of the 7 giants, Jiang Ziyuan. He had lost to Wang Ming in the fight for the true dragon corpse. At this moment, he focused his attention on the battle between Xiao Chun and Bai Wuxue. Jiang Ziyuan held a spear and revealed a contemplative expression. He smiled and said, "This person's saber intent seems to have reached 70% comprehension as well. Are you not afraid that he will surpass you?" Wang Ming carried a dragon-tooth saber on his back. He smiled and said, "Aside from Feng Xingxing, I look down on all the bladesmen of the Tianwu domain. I can't wait for more people like him. The more, the better. My saber has not met an opponent for a long time." On another true dragon corpse, Feng Xingxing, who defeated the scions of the Zhang clan and the Jun clan of the Tianwu domain's 4 noble clans, entered deep thought as he watched Xiao Chun fight with Bai Wuxue. A disciple behind Feng Xingxing said with some astonishment, "First senior brother, this white-robed bladesman really fought with Bai Wuxue. Furthermore, he did not lose." Feng Xingxing slowly sheathed his saber and sighed softly. "Originally, I intended to challenge Bai Wuxue among the 7 giants. It looks like I will have to change to someone else this time." Back when Feng Xingxing learned that Xiao Qian was going to fight by Wu Xue, he had been interested in taking a look. However, he had not expected Xiao Qian to win. Now that Feng Xingxing saw Xiao Qian's strength, it was hard to say. Given another half a year, even if Xiao Qian could not defeat by Wu Xue, he might be able to match by Wu Xue. If that was the case, there would be no point in challenging by Wu Xue. The signs of the Zhang clan and the Jun clan focused their attention on this battle as well. Challenging the seven giants was the dream of many outstanding talents of the younger generation. However, after so many years, as the seven giants became more and more dazzling, no one had taken this step for a long time. They were all afraid of humiliating themselves and losing their reputation. Now, there was a person who was only a medial grade martial monarch, yet he could fight with Bai Wuxue to such a degree. This was a huge blow to both of them. And Juanxi, who was currently fighting with the 5 fiend race half-sages on the skeleton in the center, also paid some attention to the battle between Xiao Chun and Bai Wuxue. And Juanxi did not think much of the 7 giants. The main reason was the immortal state of thunder that Xiao Chun used, which attracted his attention. The immortal state of thunder. If I have time, I should exchange pointers with this person. Even several sage elders of the Thunder and Lightning Palace have not comprehended the immortal state of thunder. Hu Qi, a fiend race loose cultivator, wanted to take advantage of the moment, and Juanxi was distracted to forcefully charge in and take him down, snatching away the most precious dragon skeleton. And Juanxi smiled coldly and flicked his wrist. The electric whip became like a berserk dragon, showing its ferocity. The other 4 loose cultivators cried out in pain. Originally, this was in Juanxi's opening. However, when the 5 worked together, one of them left the formation and immediately turned the situation around to his advantage. The fiend race loose cultivator who sneak attacked in Juanxi was startled and quickly fled. The 5 fiend race loose cultivators regrouped, no longer daring to move rashly. Dance of Snow, 100 Flowers Bloom. Bai Wuxue attacked for a long time, unable to take down Xiao Chun. Finally, he got angry and executed a heaven-ranked martial technique, wanting to take down Xiao Chun in one move. If Bai Wuxue could not take down Xiao Chun in front of so many people of the same generation, then his reputation would be ruined. Under Bai Wuxue's control, the snowflakes drifting down from the air all turned into white flower buds. The flower buds bloomed and quickly absorbed the ice-attributed spiritual energy in the surroundings. The formless ice-attributed energy seemed to turn solid at this moment. Thousands of tiny, crystalline white lights appeared in the air, reflecting the light. The light illuminated the ice flower buds, making them crystalline and beautiful. The thousands of flower buds covered the sky, preventing anyone from dodging. Bai Wuxue looked at Xiao Chun and smiled coldly. 100 flowers bloom. Bloom. Right after Bai Wuxue spoke, many crystalline ice flower buds suddenly bloomed. They were like pure and holy women revealing their charming faces and smiling faintly. The thousands of flowers bloomed. This scene was pure and beautiful. However, it contained a fatal threat. The thousands of flower petals danced around, forming a bone-chilling wind current. The ice flowers shot toward Xiao Chun. Every petal contained a formidable ice-attribute true essence. These tens of thousands of ice flowers were like ice flowers. These thousands of ice flowers were like a snowstorm. As long as one landed on a person, it would result in severe internal injuries. Xiao Chun could not let the ice flowers get close to him, not even one. Xiao Chun's expression turned grave. At the crucial moment, he held his saber with his right hand and executed the upgraded version of Saber Light Thunder Shadow, Ghostly Image Chop. Saber lights danced around. In an instant, Xiao Chun sent out 72 saber lights. Each saber light quickly split into 3. Instantly, saber images containing the state of thunder filled Xiao Chun's surroundings. The saber images were densely packed, encasing him tightly without any gaps. Bang! 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 In the blink of an eye, one ice flower after another collided with the blade shadow, causing a loud sound to erupt. It was like an avalanche, dull and deep. In the spacious burial ground, the sound reverberated unceasingly, causing the entire ground to shake violently. The snowy mountains exploded, shattering like rocks for 500 kilometers. Such a scene seemed to appear before everyone's eyes. They felt like they were there. The dull sound did not stop for even a moment. Every time an ice flower exploded, it would release horrifying ice-attributed energy. Dance of snow, hundreds of flowers bloomed. They were as magnificent as light, so beautiful that they could break one's heart. The many cultivators watching from a distance were astonished. Bai Wuxiue truly lived up to his reputation as one of the 7 giants. A strong wind blew, and snowflakes fell. Xiao Qian's figure was completely hidden in the snowstorm. No one knew if he was dead or alive. It's over. This Xiao Qian will probably be severely injured, even if he does not die. Bai Wuxiue is getting serious. It's been so many years since I saw Bai Wuxiue use a heaven-ranked martial technique. For this Xiao Qian to be able to force Bai Wuxiue to this extent, it is worth it. After all, he is one of the 7 giants. Xiao Qian was too rash. He should have stopped while he was ahead. The disciples of the various sects outside the burial ground discussed the situation. They all felt deep admiration for Xiao Qian for being able to force Bai Wuxiue to this extent. However, they all thought that this was as far as he could go. Jiangxin, one of the 7 giants, held his spear and smiled gently. This fellow is still a little rash. However, since he did not die and managed to survive, he is quite a character. However, Wang Ming, who was on the true dragon remains, shook his head slightly and said, "It might not be what you think." Jiang Ziyuan frowned and said, "Could there be other variables?" Bai Wuxiue's dance of snow can already bring out 70% of its might. If he executed it, it would be difficult for us to deal with him. Wang Ming did not bother to argue. He smiled and said, "Keep watching and you will know." As the ice and snow flew, Bai Wuxiue's expression relaxed somewhat. He was very clear on the might of his dance of snow. Bai Wuxiue glanced at the battlefield below. 2 powerful people from the extreme Yin sect were currently holding back Shui Lingling. She would not be able to extricate herself for a while. Good. In that case, I will take this opportunity to end this scourge. Bai Wuxiue's gaze turned cold. He made up his mind. After this move was over, he would eliminate the severely injured Xiao Qian, not leaving behind any future problems. Just at this moment, a strand of purple electric light suddenly appeared in the white world of ice and snow. Following that, the sound of surging water came from the ice and snow. Boom! The sound of water grew louder and louder. It was like a boundless ocean, vast and boundless. When it erupted, it crushed all the ice and snow into dust. Chapter 724. A purple sea appeared in front of Bai Wuxiue. This was a sea made purely of electricity, sweeping away all the ice flowers. What's going on? A sea of lightning has appeared. It's Xiao Qian. That sea of lightning is a phenomenon created by Xiao Qian. He actually blocked that move. Exclamations rose one after another. Everyone's expression was slightly startled. They never expected Xiao Qian to be so powerful and unexpectedly block the attack. Jiang Zian was stunned and said, "Wang Ming, already knew?" Wang Ming smiled faintly and said, "I'm the same as you, unable to see through that world of ice and snow. It is only the purest feeling of a bladesman." Xiao. Suddenly, a strand of saber light shot out of the sea of lightning from somewhere. It was like a rainbow piercing through the sun, disappearing in a flash. It was so fast that no one could catch it. This elusive saber strike made Bai Wuxiue feel the threat of death for some reason. At this critical moment, Bai Wuxiue's rich combat experience, which he had accumulated for many years, made him feel the threat of death. Coupled with his half-saint cultivation and sharp reflexes, he quickly dodged to the side in the time it took for a spark to fly. Chi! A dim light flashed, and a few strands of hair fell from Bai Wuxiue's forehead. They drifted to the ground, brushing past the Grim Reaper. Dragon subduing slash, Blue Dragon goes to sea. Seeing that his first move had failed, Xiao Qian immediately switched to another one. His feet stepped on the blue dragon's shadow. Xiaoqin suddenly braked in the air and flew past by Wuxue. Then, he immediately stopped. The sudden stop produced a thunderous sonic boom that exploded in everyone's eardrums. The mysterious phenomenon of a vast sea materialized behind Xiaoqin. 990 dragon pillars soared into the sky, and a blue dragon leaped out of the sea. Xiaoqin brandished the dragon-shaped saber chi and used the aura of a blue dragon emerging from the sea to attack by Wuxue. The battle happened in a breath of time. That strand of saber light chopped off by Wushue's hair and immediately turned into a dragon-shaped saber light, attacking. He did not give his opponent any chance to execute his martial technique. At the crucial moment of life and death, Bai Wuxue remained extremely calm. He brought out his half-sage cultivation to its limits. His clothes fluttered wildly, and his hair suddenly turned white. A cold light blossomed on his hands, and the radiance overflowed in all directions, dazzling and glaring. Ka! When Bai Wuxue saw the incoming saber blade, he shouted. His hands, which were glowing with a cold light, clapped down and clamped down on the saber blade. Boom! A horrifying clump of energy immediately burst out behind Bai Wuxue. 100-meter-wide pit appeared in the cave wall, turning pitch black. However, Bai Wuxue's body did not move at all in midair. He used his strong cultivation to receive Xiaoqin's heaven-ranked martial technique head-on. People couldn't help but sigh at the profound cultivation and courage of the 7 tycoons. Blood leaked out of a corner of Bai Wuxue's lips as he clamped down on the saber. He looked at Xiaoqin and smiled. White-robed bladesman, you really surprised me. However, suppressing the cold qi in your body must be very painful, right? Xiaoqin's lips paled slightly. It was indeed, as Bai Wuxue said. There was no way to completely dodge that dance of snow. Even though Xiaoqin managed to dodge the ice flowers, the cold qi that appeared from the start had already silently entered his body. Just take care of yourself. Xiaoqin's blood surged as he instantly activated the sovereign's bloodline in his body. A distant, noble, ancient, heavy, and epic sovereign's aura surged towards Bai Wuxue. With the sovereign's aura at such a close distance, Bai Wuxue could not help but take a step back. However, he quickly recovered. Xiaoqin took advantage of this opportunity to draw the lunar shadow saber from Bai Wuxue's hand. Then, he quickly executed the second move of the dragon subduing slash. Xiaoqin turned into a true dragon, and his body merged with his saber. Then, he stomped on the air, causing space to tremble endlessly. A saber light flickered like a true dragon baring its claws in rage as it flew at Bai Wuxue. Bai Wuxue's expression changed slightly. With one glance, he could tell that this move was different from the previous one. It required a martial technique. Dance of snow, 100 flowers contend. Bai Wuxue's hands formed hand seals, and the dancing snowflakes in front of him suddenly condensed into all sorts of ice flowers. There were azaleas, peonies, roses, white flowers, and hundreds of other flowers. They formed 100 flowers formation made of ice and snow. They competed with each other and formed a strange aura, firmly locking down the space. The true dragon and the 100 flowers formation clashed and gave off a loud sound. The two each took 100 steps back. For the first time, the aura of soaring dragon did not knock anyone away. Instead, it barely managed to fight evenly. The flowers withered and turned back into dancing snowflakes. The blood at the corner of Bai Wuxue's lips was very eye-catching in the white snow. What kind of monster did I provoke? Unexpectedly, he even grasped the aura of a heaven-ranked martial technique. Bai Wuxue stared at the pale Xiaoqin. The shock in his heart could not be described with words. Incredible. Unexpectedly, he even comprehended the aura of a heaven-ranked martial technique. The passionate young master, Murong Lingfeng, who fought to a draw with Luo Zixiao on a true dragon corpse, gently waved his folding fan. Luo Zixiao, who was holding a sword beside Murong Lingfeng, said calmly, "However, his situation is not optimistic. The dance of snow contains cold poison. The cold poison that has accumulated in his body has probably reached a certain level already. Murong Lingfeng smiled faintly and said, "It's fine. Shui Lingling is already free." Bai Wuxiu gently wiped away the blood at the corner of his lips. Then, he looked at the pale Xiao Chun, who was clearly suffering from the cold poison. Just as Bai Wuxiu was about to make a move, he suddenly felt an extremely dangerous gaze on him. As long as he made any strange movements, he would immediately face death. Bai Wuxiu already guessed what was going on. He looked around. It was indeed as he expected. Shui Lingling, who was on the ground, had already dealt with the few ruthless people of the extreme sect. She had already drawn her purple bow, which contained immortal qi, into the shape of a full moon. An arrow made of pure, profound sun true flame was knocked on the bow. Shui Lingling's purple robes fluttered as she looked at Bai Wuxiu coldly. Her meaning was clear without saying. Bai Wuxiu glanced at the extreme sect true inheritors lying on the ground, firmly subdued by Hu Hai and the others. He knew that he had lost his advantage. The priceless and inestimable true dragon corpse was no longer of any use to him. Then, Bai Wuxiu raised his head and looked at Xiao Chun. He sighed ruefully. When he first met Xiao Chun, he had used less than 50% of his strength to force the other party to flee. When Bai Wuxiu heard the other party challenge him, he had treated it as a joke. He felt that it was an insult to his reputation and only wanted to kill this person casually. Bai Wuxiu had never truly treated Xiao Chun as an opponent. He had never felt that Xiao Chun was dangerous, so he had not taken Xiao Chen's challenge to heart. However, in a mere 2 months, Xiao Chen's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Bai Wuxiu had used close to 100% of his strength, but he had still failed to deal with Xiao Chen quickly. Instead, he had gotten injured. Now, Bai Wuxiu had no choice but to seriously consider this challenge. Bai Wuxiu withdrew his hand and scattered his state of ice. Then, he looked at Xiao Chun and said in a cold voice, "The Haoqian sect Xiao Chun, as the top true inheritor of the extreme sect, I ask you, are you really willing to challenge me?" Xiao Chun waved his hand and scattered his immortal state of thunder. Then, he sheathed his saber and said calmly, "I already said it long ago. I will not repeat myself." Bai Wuxiu narrowed his eyes and smiled coldly. "Very well. In that case, I formally accept your challenge before all the younger generation of the Tianwu domain. I'll give you 1 year. Within this 1 year, the extreme sect will not send anyone to seek trouble for you." After saying that, Bai Wuxiu flung his sleeves and led the extreme sect's true inheritors away from the burial grounds with cold expressions. Looking at Bai Wuxiu's departing figure, the disciples of the various sects were deep in thought. Since Bai Wuxiu became famous, countless people had challenged him, wanting to use him as a stepping stone for their own fame. However, without exception, all these people fell at his feet, seeking their own humiliation. Bai Wuxiu had accepted hundreds of challenges. However, he had never formally accepted any of them. Today, he had accepted Xiao Chen's challenge before all the younger generation of the Tianwu domain. This was truly surprising. As they looked at Xiao Chun, they all felt envious. After this, the name of the white-robed bladesman, Xiao Chun, will spread throughout the entire Tianwu domain. That goes without saying. Bai Wuxiu officially accepted this challenge. This is unprecedented. In the future, this battle will definitely attract everyone's attention. Strange, Bai Wuxiu has met opponents before as well. However, he never acknowledged them. Could it be that Xiao Chun is really that strong? Bai Wuxiu gave Xiao Chun 1 year. I wonder what he is thinking. As one of the 7 giants, he definitely has his own pride. He does not fear a true challenge. He probably did not take Xiao Chun seriously in the past. Bai Wuxiu's acknowledgement of Xiao Chen's challenge was like dropping a bomb into a calm lake. It immediately incited a lot of discussion, making the place extraordinarily bustling. Xiao Chen's gaze was as calm as still water. He did not think that Bai Wuxiu's acknowledgement was a big deal. Xiao Chun had always been indifferent to his reputation. He only knew that Bai Wuxiu had injured him, bullied him, and humiliated him. So, he should return the favor. That was all. Xiao Chun gently drifted down and landed beside Shui Lingling. He said softly, "First senior sister, fortunately I did not disappoint you. I managed to block a few moves from Bai Wuxiue." Shui Lingling smiled and said, "Don't say anything first. I'll use the profound Sun True Flame to help you purge the cold poison in your body." Bai Wuxiue's cold poison had already entered Xiao Chen's body. However, it was not as severe as others guessed. Xiao Chen's physical body had already reached rank 1 sage body. His skin, blood, bones, and meridians had all been tempered several times. It was extremely difficult for the cold poison to break through the layers of defense and enter his internal organs. Furthermore, Xiao Chen cultivated lightning-attributed quintessence, which was somewhat effective against this cold poison. As long as Xiao Chen did not continue fighting and did not purposely treat himself, the cold poison would slowly be purged over time. Xiao Chen was aware of his own situation. However, since Shui Lingling wanted to help, it would be unreasonable of him to reject her. So, he allowed Shui Lingling to send a clump of gentle, profound sun, true flame into his body. Qi, qi. The profound sun true flame circulated through Xiao Chen's body and easily purged all the cold poison. The process was so smooth that it shocked Shui Lingling. After the cold poison left his body, Xiao Chen's somewhat unsightly expression immediately recovered its luster, and he became spirited. Shui Lingling withdrew her hand and smiled. "Your physical body is really terrifyingly strong. I wonder if you were a half-sage, who in the younger generation of the Tianwu domain can stop you." Chapter 725. When Xiao Chen heard this, he smiled faintly. However, he looked at the true dragon remains in the center without any pride in his eyes. The 5 fiend race loose cultivators there had already revealed their fiend forms. However, Enjuanshi still held the initiative. He stood on the head of the massive true dragon skeleton and lashed out with a lightning whip, beating the 5 fiend race loose cultivators into submission. "Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's split this true dragon remains. Hopefully, we will be lucky enough to find a few drops of dragon marrow." Shui Lingling smiled as she called everyone over. The others had already gone far away, but Xiao Chen did not move. Everyone could not help but look at him strangely, not knowing what Xiao Chen wanted to do. This person, he is not qualified to split the true dragon remains, Xiao Chen said calmly and coldly as he looked at Wang Cheng expressionlessly. When Hu Hai and the others heard this, their expressions changed. They felt very confused. Xiao Chen's words were rather hurtful, not in line with his character at all. Sweat appeared on Wang Cheng's forehead as his heart trembled. What should have happened had finally happened. Xiao Chen really did not intend to let him off. When Wang Cheng saw Xiao Chen return and the strength he displayed, he had already anticipated his ending. However, now that it really happened, he could not help but feel extremely nervous. Chen Xiao said, "Junior brother Xiao Chen, although Wang Cheng said some unpleasant things and was somewhat disrespectful to you, we are all from the same sect. There is no need to be so ruthless." Shui Lingling's gaze wandered around. When she saw the pale and trembling Wang Cheng, she felt that something was wrong. She frowned and said, "Don't say anything first. Let Xiao Chen finish." Xiao Chen's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he stared at Wang Cheng. Then he enunciated every word clearly. "Back in the true dragon storm, I did not fall down by accident. Instead, he sneak attacked and kicked me down." Buzz. Right after Xiao Chen said that, everyone's minds buzzed. They could not believe that what Xiao Chen said was true. Junxi's pretty face turned cold. She immediately said angrily, "Wang Cheng, is what junior brother Xiao Chen said true?" Hu Hai remained silent. He looked at Wang Cheng helplessly. Given Hu Hai's understanding of Xiao Chen's character, there was no need to accuse Wang Cheng. Furthermore, when Xiao Chen fell into the true dragon storm, it was indeed very strange. Even Junxi, the weakest among them, had not been pulled out. How could Xiao Chen have been pulled out by the storm? However, despite their suspicions, no one thought that it was Wang Cheng. No matter what, they were Wang Cheng. They were Xiao Chen. Wang Cheng glanced at Shui Lingling's expression. Shui Lingling's murderous aura was restrained, without the slightest trace of emotion. The last trace of hope in his heart was completely dashed. Now there was Shui Wang, Xiao Lingling Xiao No, and he, Shui Ling, Xiao Chun Tian Chun, Chun, Xiao, and Ling Xiao Chun of Chun Xiao, and Ling. Run. Wang Chang could not be bothered with Junxi's question. Without saying anything else, he turned and ran. Only by leaving this place could he survive. Given Wang Cheng's movement technique, as long as Shui Lingling did not make a move, he would not be able to catch up to him in this chaotic burial ground. If the others wanted to catch up to him, they would have to put in a lot of effort, including Xiao Chun. Boom! However, Wang Cheng underestimated the rage in Shui Lingling's heart. He had only moved 200 meters when a fiery light flashed like a meteor. Then, Wang Cheng's head exploded into a pool of scarlet light. Shui Lingling gently put down the bow in her hand. She had a complicated expression as she sighed. Originally, I prepared the flowing light arrow to deal with by Wu Xue. Unexpectedly, I used it on my own people. Wang Cheng's headless corpse slowly fell over. When the people in the surroundings saw this scene, they were startled, not knowing what happened. How strange. Shui Lingling would actually attack her own people, Murong Lingfeng said suspiciously as he jumped down from the true dragon's remains. Luo Zixiao, who fought Xiao Chun to a draw, said indifferently, "The internal affairs of the Haotian sect have nothing to do with us. Let's see if this true dragon remains have dragon marrow first. If there is, this trip will be worth it." Murong Lingfeng counted the vertebrae of the true dragon remains one by one. When he reached the 9th vertebrae, he stopped. "Aha! I advise you not to get your hopes up. These are all secondary dragons. The chances of them having dragon marrow are not high. The one that Enjuanshi is fighting for is the one with the highest chance." Murong Lingfeng said calmly as he removed the 9th vertebra with a faint smile. Among the true dragons, there were also ranks. Generally speaking, a true dragon cave would only have one master, and the rest would be its subordinates. Clearly, in this burial ground, the largest true dragon skeleton under Enjuanshi's feet was the true master of this place. The chances of this true dragon skeleton containing dragon marrow were also the highest. Otherwise, the loose cultivators of the fiend race would not have worked together to make a move. Nor would Enjuanshi be so interested. Naturally, Luo Zixiao understood this as well. He walked forward with his sword in hand and gently stroked the true dragon skeleton. Then, he said indifferently, "It doesn't matter. Along the way, the spirit fruits, herbs, and rare ores I picked are enough. Just treat it as a pleasant surprise if there is dragon marrow. It is not a loss even if there is none." Murong Lingfeng held the segment of true dragon skeleton and shook it up and down. However, the bone was empty. There was no sound at all. He could not help but feel disappointed. If there was dragon marrow in it, when he shook it gently, the dragon marrow would flow. It would give off a resonant and vast true dragon roar, resounding throughout the world, extremely shocking. Clearly, there was nothing in this true dragon skeleton. However, this true dragon skeleton was already very valuable. Even if they split it evenly, they would not lose out. Be it exchanging it for resources, selling it for spirit stones, forging bone weapons, or refining medicinal pills, it would be very useful. On the other side, Wang Ming held the 9th vertebra of the true dragon skeleton as he looked at the white-robed Xiao Chun. However, he did not make a move. Jiang Xin, who was at the side, frowned slightly. He said unhappily, "Wang Ming, are you afraid that I will try to snatch it if there is dragon marrow? Why are you not testing it yet?" Wang Ming recovered his wits. However, he ignored Jiang Ziyuan's words. His gaze turned grave as he muttered, "So, it is him, that white-robed brat who snatched my half-drop of dragon marrow. It looks like I have to negotiate with Shui Lingling later." When Jiang Ziyuan saw the situation, he could not help but repeat what he said. He did not mean anything else. He just wanted to see whether there was dragon marrow or not. If there was, he could use resources to exchange for it with Wang Ming. Physical defense had always been Xiao Chen's weakness. He really needed the help of dragon marrow. Wang Ming laughed loudly and casually tossed the vertebra over. He said, "In that case, do it yourself. Why would I, Wang Ming, be afraid of you playing any tricks?" Jiang Ziyuan could not be bothered to say more. He caught the vertebra and shook it. It was empty. There was no sound at all. Xiao Chun could not help but reveal an expression of extreme disappointment. He looked at the huge skeleton in the center, wherein Juanxi and the fiend race loose cultivators were still fighting. "It looks like only that set of dragon bones will have dragon marrow," Jiang Ziyan said calmly. Wang Ming's lips curled up slightly. He said, "That might not be the case. However, even if there is, you would not be able to exchange for it. And Juanxi wants to use the entire vertebra to forge the true dragon lightning whip. Taking out the dragon marrow would destroy the integrity of the whip." Jiang Zuan sighed slightly and said, "I know that as well. However, and Juanxi is becoming increasingly stronger. He will probably comprehend the will of thunder soon. At that time, he will be able to face the three holy scions head-on." Wang Ming said sullenly, "It is not that soon. He has already comprehended it. The problem now is how much of the will of thunder he has comprehended." When Jiang Ziyuan heard this news, his body paused visibly. He asked, "How do you know? Have you fought with him before?" Wang Ming's expression slowly turned grave. He nodded gently and said, "Do you think I'm the kind of person who would give up the title of the strongest of the 7 giants so easily? I fought him once 3 years ago and lost within 100 moves. I fought him again 2 years ago and lost within 100 moves. I fought him again 1 year ago and lost within 10 moves." Defeating Wang Ming in 10 moves, Jiang Ziyuan could not help but reveal deep shock in his eyes. He said, "Their cultivation and martial techniques are about the same. There is only one explanation for losing so quickly." Wang Ming casually waved his hand and put away the entire set of true dragon remains. Then he looked at the set of remains in the middle and said, "Just wait and see. In the next Sage War of the Proud Son of Heaven ranking, the top 3 positions will probably change." Before the anticipating gazes of his many junior brothers and sisters, Feng Xingxing gently shook the 9th segment of the true dragon bone. In the end, it was still empty. There was no sound at all. Aside from the one in the middle, 3 of the remaining 4 sets of true dragon bones did not have dragon marrow. The rarity of dragon marrow was evident once again. A true dragon cave would not be exposed at any time. Even if it was exposed, most of the dragon bones would not have dragon marrow. It was even possible for the entire true dragon cave to not have dragon marrow. First senior sister, don't touch this segment first. Shui Lingling had already removed the 9th segment of the true dragon bone. However, Xiao Qun stopped Shui Lingling from doing so. The blue dragon martial spirit in Xiao Qun's body had recondensed. He had a strange connection to this true dragon bone. His spiritual sense and mental energy could not see through this true dragon bone. However, Xiao Qun had a hunch that this segment of the true dragon bone might contain dragon marrow. Once it was exposed, it would definitely attract attention from many places. At that time, there would be endless trouble. Shui Lingling was stunned for a while, but she still obeyed. Then, she handed the true dragon bone to Xiao Chun for safekeeping. As for the remaining true dragon bones, Shui Lingling divided them according to their individual strengths. Xiao Chun and Xiao Chun each took 40%, and the remaining 20% was divided equally among Hu Hai and the other 2. No one objected to such a division. Without Xiao Chun and Shui Lingling, it would be impossible for the others to obtain even one segment of the true dragon bone. Boom! Suddenly, an extremely resonant divine thunder resounded. That thunder imprinted itself in everyone's sea of consciousness, reverberating endlessly and causing their seas of consciousness to churn endlessly. There was clearly only one thunder, but resounded endlessly in everyone's minds. It was like they were in a sea of lightning. Everyone felt like bolts of lightning were circling them. The sky changed color, and the winds and clouds churned. It felt like the heavenly might of the lightning could shatter their souls at any moment. Xiao Chun stabilized his mind. His surging mental energy instantly allowed him to extricate himself from the illusion. Chapter 726. After that, the other 7 giants woke up from the illusions one after another. When they looked at the owner of the shocking thunder, they all appeared somewhat dazed. Shui Lingling frowned slightly and muttered to herself, "Will of thunder." And Juanxi really comprehended the will of thunder. Xiao Chun frowned and entered deep thought. The might of a will was truly terrifying. It could even intimidate a cultivator's soul. If Juanxi really made a move, even if everyone here worked together, they would not be a match for him. He had already left the others far behind. If they could not comprehend a will as well, then even if they were half-sages, they would be like ants before him. And Juanxi's lightning whip flickered with a silver electric light. The whip looked like a dignified, silver holy dragon as it swept out. The whip knocked the 5 fiend race loose cultivators, who had revealed their true forms, into the air. Their fiend bodies trembled in the air. After they landed, they reverted to human form. Strands of black smoke came out of their bodies, making them look very miserable. "Why are you still not scramming?" And Juanxi shouted as he stood on the dragon's head. He had a stern expression as he held the silver lightning whip. After exposing the will of thunder, and Juanxi was not in a good mood. He did not show any politeness when he spoke. If these 5 fiend race loose cultivators dared to continue pestering him, he could only kill them. The 5 half-sage fiend race loose cultivators trembled as they climbed to their feet. Their eyes revealed deep fear as they headed out of the burial ground without looking back. When Juanxi landed on the ground, he casually swung his whip and shattered the huge true dragon skeleton, leaving only the 9 segments of its spine intact. As the skeleton shattered, the entire burial ground shook violently. Rocks continuously fell from above, rumbling as they fell. "Quick, let's go. This place is going to collapse. If we do not go out, we'll be buried forever." Shui Lingling's expression changed slightly. Then, she led Xiao Chun and the others towards the exit. The cave collapsed, and huge rocks fell from the sky. The entire place turned chaotic. Fortunately, the cultivators who came here all had high cultivations. In such a crisis, other than some extremely unlucky cultivators who could not circulate their quintessence in time and got crushed by the rocks, most would be fine. After exiting the cave, the ground behind Xiao Chun and the others collapsed. Accompanied by a rumbling sound, the true dragon cave was completely covered in dust and turned into ruins. He could no longer continue searching, and it would be impossible for him to continue trying his luck here in the future. Several cultivators stood in front of the rubble, unwilling to leave for a long time. Some people obtained heavenly treasures and mystical resources that they wanted. It could be said that they had obtained their own fortuitous encounter. There were also people who paid with their lives here, turning into the earth, falling just like that, dying on the path of martial arts that was filled with difficulties. Shui Lingling sighed gently and said, "Let's go. The demonic barrier around the savage battlefield will recover after a while. At that time, it will be difficult to leave." The crowd slowly dispersed. At Xiao Chen's suggestion, Shui Lingling took an extremely desolate path. 1 hour later, after scanning the area with his spiritual sense several times and confirming that there was no one within 5 kilometers, Xiao Chun took out the dragon bone. Jun Si smiled gently and said, "Junior brother Xiao Chun, you are so cautious. Could it be that there is really dragon marrow in this dragon bone?" The others looked at Xiao Chun curiously as well. They did not understand why Xiao Chun was so insistent. After all, the chances of dragon marrow appearing were extremely low. This was especially so for a subordinate dragon. It was practically impossible. Previously, when Wang Meng and the others checked for dragon bones in front of so many people, they had not held much hope. If they were sure that there was dragon marrow, they would not have shown it to so many people, seeking trouble for themselves. Xiao Chun smiled faintly as he held the true dragon's 9th vertebra with his right hand. He said, "That is hard to say. Perhaps a miracle will happen." Drip! As Xiao Chun held the dragon bone, he shook it gently. The crisp sound of liquid sloshing came from the dragon bone. The 4 including Shui Lingling, all showed astonished expressions. They even suspected that they were hallucinating. Roar! Before they could question it, the crisp sound of liquid sloshing suddenly turned into a resonant dragon roar. That dragon roar contained a boundless dragon might. True dragons had long since disappeared, and the ones that still existed in the world were only some drakes. Even the draconic might of the most powerful draconic dragons was worlds apart from this. This was the purest true dragon might. The instant the dragon roar appeared, aside from Shao Chun and Shui Lingling, the other three were immediately sent flying. Right after the dragon roar sounded, another dragon roar followed. This time, Hu Hai and the other two could no longer hold on. They all vomited a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, trembling. Even Shui Lingling had a somewhat grave expression. She shuffled her feet slightly. After the dragon might dispersed, Shui Lingling walked over joyfully. She said 2 dragon roars. There are 2 drops of dragon marrow in there. Shao Chun, how did you discover it? The others walked over with pale complexions. Their eyes were still filled with disbelief. Hu Hai muttered, 2 drops of dragon marrow. If Wang Meng and the others knew about such a harvest, I wonder how jealous they would be. The value of 1 drop of dragon marrow was sufficient to offset all the precious spirit fruits and ores that those people had collected along the way. 2 drops of spirit stones completely surpassed the gains of the others. This was especially so for the genius cultivators who came here specifically for the dragon marrow. This was a fatal temptation. To them, if they could not obtain the dragon marrow, no matter how many treasures they collected, it would be useless. 5 kilometers away, Wang Meng's body paused for a moment. A strange look flashed in his eyes as he carefully sensed the faint fluctuations in the air. After a while, Wang Meng's eyes lit up. His lips curled up in a smile as he said, "It's dragon marrow. What a coincidence." After Wang Meng recognized Shao Chun, he wanted to end his relationship with Shao Chun. He did not want to lose half a drop of dragon marrow for nothing. However, when Wang Meng followed Shao Chun, he quickly sensed a spiritual sense that was much stronger than mental energy. Wang Meng was very knowledgeable. The first possibility that came to his mind was that Shui Lingling had obtained a rather powerful mental energy martial technique. After Shao Chun dodged once, he chose to follow far behind the group of people. Back to where Shao Chun and the others were, Hu Hai and the others rejoiced at first. However, they quickly calmed down. No matter what, the 2 drops of dragon marrow would not end up in their hands. First, senior sister, we will not split this dragon marrow. You and junior brother Shao Chun can have a drop each, Hu Hai and the others said calmly. Shui Lingling nodded and said, "All right. I will compensate you with some medial-grade spirit gathering pearls later. However, I have no use for this drop of dragon marrow." Shao Chun looked at Shui Lingling suspiciously. Since there were 2 drops of dragon marrow, he definitely had to give one away. He did not know why Shui Lingling did not want it. Dragon marrow mainly strengthens a cultivator's physical body's defense. 1 drop of dragon marrow can raise my defense by about 20%. Shui Lingling carried the purple bow on her back and stroked the hair on her forehead. She chuckled and said, "However, I mainly cultivate archery and movement techniques. The dragon marrow is not very useful to me, so I might as well help you, junior martial brother. In the future, you have to take out a natural treasure of equal value to the dragon marrow and return it to me." Shao Chun never liked to put on airs. The dragon marrow was indeed very useful to him. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks, senior sister. Shao Chun will remember this favor." Just as Shui Lingling was about to say something, she frowned slightly on her pretty face. She looked up and said, "Someone is coming." The group turned their heads and saw a dim light shooting through the air, looking like a beam of light rushing over. This person did not hide his strong aura at all. Before he even got close, a strong wind blew, kicking up sand and rocks. Shao Chun and the others could not help but close their eyes. When the strong wind dissipated, the arrogant and tyrannical Wang Meng, carrying the dragon-tooth saber on his back, appeared before the group with a smile on his face. Shui Lingling, Congratulations to your Haotian sect. You have gained another proud disciple. Wang Ming casually drew his dragon tooth saber and placed both hands on its hilt as he stood upright on the ground. Of the 7 giants, Wang Ming had the most arrogant temper. He never hid it, so his relationships with others were poor. Shui Lingling could not be bothered to speak nonsense with him. She removed the purple bow with her right hand and said coldly, "You are here for the dragon marrow, right? I really do not know where you get your confidence to appear before me in such an open space." Wang Ming, who had fought alongside Shui Lingling in the Bushin Palace, knew better than others how mighty the bow in Shui Lingling's hand was. Many cultivators of the foreign races and demonic world experts had died to this bow. Wang Ming looked at Xiao Chun with some fear and smiled faintly. Then he pointed at Xiao Chun and said, "I am here to look for him, not to cause trouble for you. You should know that he won half a drop of dragon marrow from me, right?" Xiao Chun smiled bitterly to himself. He knew that half a drop of dragon marrow would not be that easy to obtain. Trouble finally came looking for him. Shui Lingling narrowed her eyes and said coldly, "You can't look for him either. As for the matter of the half a drop of dragon marrow, if you want to look for it, go look for Nguyen Muyun. Was so great about looking for my junior brother." Wang Ming had not expected Shui Lingling to be so unyielding. His gaze turned cold, and he released an indistinct killing chi. He said, "No matter what you think, we have to settle this grudge. Otherwise, I will not be able to calm down." Bai Wuxiue gave him 1 year. "I will not bully the weak. As long as he can receive 1 move from me, this matter will be settled. If he does not want to receive it, that is fine. In that case, give me 1 drop of dragon marrow to end this matter. Otherwise," Shui Lingling did not show any fear. Her gentle and pretty face was covered in frost, and her killing chi had not been released yet. She asked indifferently, "Otherwise what?" Wang Ming smiled coldly and said, "Otherwise, he might not be able to live past 1 year, unless he stays in the Haotian sect and does not come out." "Good. In that case, I will kill you now." Earlier, when Bai Wuxiu threatened Shui Lingling in the cave, she had already been suppressing her anger. Now that she was in such an open area, she was in danger from Wang Ming. Shui Lingling could no longer hold back her rage. She did not say anything more and unleashed all her killing chi. Her purple robes fluttered, and her fine black hair fluttered in the wind. Then she suddenly released the bowstring in her right hand. A fiery light flickered like a meteor, illuminating the dark space of the savage battlefield. In the blink of an eye, it arrived before Wang Ming. The fiery light illuminated the sky. The light disappeared in a flash, and the dark space returned to normal. Chapter 7:27. No one could describe how fast that arrow was. If it wasn't for the shock brought by the strong light to the eyes, it was very likely that they would think that it was just an illusion. Although Wang Ming's gaze wandered, it never left Shui Lingling's right hand, which was drawing the bowstring. Before Shui Lingling let go, Wang Ming had already dodged. The instant the light vanished, Wang Ming had already retreated 100 meters. A finger-sized hole appeared where he originally stood. It was dark and deep, and no one knew how deep it was. The entire place was calm, except for the sound of the wind. The air froze and lingered for a long time, looking very strange. Hu Hai and the other 2 knew Shui Lingling's strength. The instant she released the arrow, they immediately retreated. Xiao Chun followed suit, following his instincts. Bang! Indeed, everything that happened earlier was just the calm before the storm. The profound yang arrow, which had penetrated an unknown distance into the ground, suddenly exploded. The flat ground suddenly cracked, and the crack extended for a kilometer. Countless pieces of mud splattered in all directions like fairies scattering their wings. Rumble! The ground trembled, and mud poured down like a torrential rain. When one looked up, they saw many huge pieces of mud the size of small hills. Supported by the shock waves, the mud floated up into the sky. The scene was very chaotic, spectacular, and shocking. First Senior Sister is really angry. In the cave, First Senior Sister could not bring out her strength at all. Now that she is in such an open space, she has nothing to worry about. Hu Hai and the other two were flabbergasted. They had not seen Shui Lingling this angry in a long time. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Mud and rocks flew everywhere. Wang Ming held his dragon-tooth saber in the chaotic sky as he calmly leaped from one huge rock to another, approaching Shui Lingling. Her fine black hair fluttered like a waterfall. Shui Lingling's gentle face turned cold. Her purple robes fluttered, and killing chi radiated from her body. Xiaochen drew back the bowstring and let go. 3 beams of fire each flew out in arcs. Her movements were as smooth as flowing water, direct and efficient, without any pause. Bang! The 3 streams of flames shattered a huge rock under Wang Ming's feet. The flowing light turned into a blazing flame that swept out. Wang Ming's body swayed in the air like a kite. Shui Lingling pushed off the ground with her toes, and her graceful figure quickly jumped up from the ground. She pulled the bowstring, and a stream of fire shot out. The red light shone in the dusky space like fireworks blooming, the light never extinguishing, never extinguishing. Amidst the boundless flames, Wang Ming's agile body could be seen weaving through the arrows, trying to get closer to Shui Lingling. However, the terrain here was wide and flat, stretching out endlessly. Her fine black hair fluttered in the wind. That graceful purple figure was like a fairy, nimbly leaping about. She did not give Wang Ming any chance to get close at all. Instead, she forced Wang Ming to deal with her. The direction in which Shui Lingling shot her arrows was very particular. Her figure jumped and formed a huge circle. In the end, the radius of the circle continued to shrink, and the space that Wang Ming could dodge to was getting smaller and smaller. The situation did not look good for Wang Ming. Although the arrows did not hit Wang Ming, the shock waves from the explosion of the flowing light drained his protective quintessence. The arrows were like light, flickering and disappearing. They were extremely fast, making everyone tense up at all times. They did not dare to relax at all, putting immense mental pressure on them. Damn it, to think that I'm fighting with Shui Lingling on a plane. It looks like I really went crazy. Wang Ming could not help cursing in a low voice when he dodged an arrow. However, the shock waves sent him flying. After thinking for a while, Wang Ming gave up on his original plan. He charged out of Shui Lingling's formless encirclement and flew back. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chun gave up on his original plan. He charged out of Shui Lingling's formless encirclement and flew back. Shui Lingling held up her bow and gave chase. As the flowing light shot out, a 1,000-meter-long pit occasionally appeared on the flat ground, flabbergasting everyone. The 2 of them disappeared from Hu Hai's and the other's sight for a long time. However, they could still occasionally hear loud explosions coming from a distance. Xiaochen looked into the distance for a long time before withdrawing his gaze. He said, "There's no need to chase so far, right?" A smile flashed on Junxi's face. She said softly, "First, senior sister, this is to help you deal with this problem. Wang Ming has always been insolent. He is the kind of person who will vent his anger. If you only chase him away, he will come and seek trouble for you sooner or later. You have to make him back off." Hu Hai said, "Let's go as well." The direction that Wang Ming fled in is also the exit of the savage battlefield. The group followed the battle marks that Shui Lingling left behind and quickly gave chase. Who would have imagined that they would walk for 3 days and 3 nights? Explosions and flares occasionally rang out in front. After chasing for 3 days, Shui Lingling still did not give up. Wang Ming was in a miserable state as well. There were many cultivators outside the exit of the savage battlefield. These people did not have the strength to enter on their own, but their fellow sect members or friends did. Hence, they waited here for news, hoping that the people they knew would return safely. Move aside, move aside. On this particular day, a loud sound suddenly came from the exit. A man in tattered clothes and covered in dirt, looking like a beggar, rushed out in a hurry while holding a dragon-tooth saber. Holding a dragon-tooth saber, he rushed out from inside and shouted at the people blocking his way. A strong aura spread out from his body, forcing everyone to move aside. Who is this person? He is so strong. But why is he in such a sorry state? That person's hair was charred black, and his face was covered in dirt. His appearance could not be seen clearly, which confused the others. Only when someone recognized the signature dragon-tooth saber did they exclaim in shock, "That is Wang Ming, the most arrogant of the 7 giants. Who is so powerful to be able to force him into such a state?" It was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's gazes were immediately drawn over. Wang Ming's clothes were tattered, his hair was charred, his face was covered in dirt, and his body was covered in wounds. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked dispirited. He looked like a refugee. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as everyone was shocked, 9 resplendent, meteor-like fiery lights shot out from the entrance. Each strand of fiery light was an arrow made of profound, yang true flame. They were so dazzling that no one dared to look at them directly. Wang Ming, who was running forward, sensed the 9 swift fiery lights behind him. His eyes were filled with an extremely impatient expression. He seemed to be quite resentful, but there was nothing he could do. Wang Ming grasped the dragon-tooth saber tightly and quickly turned around. Saber lights danced, and the dragon-tooth saber seemed to come to life as he swung it 9 times. Every time Wang Ming swung the saber, the arrow would explode. The huge impact blasted a horrifying deep pit in the ground. Shock waves surged and kicked up a lot of dust. After 9 loud explosions, the place where Wang Ming stood was already covered in dust. Thick smoke and dust filled the air. A series of coughs could be clearly heard coming from inside. "Shui Lingling, you are really ruthless. You chased me for 3 days and 3 nights. I have had enough. As for the matter of the half drop of dragon marrow, I will not seek trouble for that brat anymore. Can you stop now?" Wang Ming roared with all his might amidst the surging dust cloud. Shui Lingling floated down from the air, holding her purple bow. A gentle expression appeared on her frosty face. She smiled gently and said, "Wouldn't it have been fine if you had said so earlier? Why did you have to seek trouble for yourself?" When the dust cloud settled, Wang Ming looked at Shui Lingling, who was still in high spirits. She looked like she had no problem chasing him for 3 days and 3 nights. Wang Ming glared hatefully at Xiao Chun and quickly left. This time, he had shown weakness in front of so many people. He had completely lost face. So, he was targeted by Shui Lingling in the plains. Wang Ming deserves to be unlucky. After Shui Lingling pulled away, even in Juanxi, one of the 7 giants, would have a hard time dealing with him. After Shui Lingling appeared, the others finally understood. They felt that Wang Ming's encounter was reasonable, and there was nothing to be surprised about. After another 4 hours, Xiao Qin's group of 4 arrived with fatigued expressions. When they saw Shui Lingling's figure, they heaved a sigh of relief. For the past 3 days, they had chased relentlessly without any rest. They were indeed very tired. If even they were in such a state, it was easy to imagine how Wang Ming, who was constantly in danger, had endured the past 3 days. Wang Ming's matter allowed Xiao Chun to see another side of Shui Lingling. He could not help but sigh ruefully. Sometimes, when a woman became ruthless, no matter how arrogant or domineering you were, you would have to lower your head and show weakness. Honestly speaking, Xiao Chun did not feel that there was anything wrong with Wang Ming's suggestion. Ending all grudges with one saber strike was something he could accept. Only after Shui Lingling explained did Xiao Chun understand. Of the 7 giants, Wang Ming's explosive power in close combat was the most horrifying. Xiao Chun was not liked by Wu Xue, whose state of ice paid particular attention to the aftermath, using cold qi to kill without anyone realizing it. Xiao Qin's horrifying explosive power could take someone's life in one move. This matter was just an interlude. It did not disrupt the group's journey. The group of people on the profound sunbird continued on their way back to the Haotian sect. Since there was nothing to do along the way, Shui Lingling and the others could not help but ask about what happened after Xiao Chun was swept away by the true dragon storm. How did his strength improve so rapidly in just half a month? Naturally, Xiao Chun could not speak of the matter of the Blue Dragon Palace. He hid it, only saying that he found a peak-grade Earth Essence fruit and refined his quintessence twice. Right, that makes sense. In history, the cultivators who succeeded in refining their quintessence twice would usually erupt with horrifying combat prowess above their cultivation. After Shui Lingling heard everything, she analyzed seriously. Furthermore, with your physical body strength and your accumulations, you can shock the world with one brilliant feat. Out of curiosity, Junsi asked, First senior sister, according to what you said, Xiao Qin will be able to defeat Bai Wuxue easily in 1 year. Shui Lingling pondered this. Then, she shook her head slightly and said, It is hard to say. For cultivator's life, 1 year is too short. However, this is a special era. Too many things can happen in 1 year. Hu Hai and the others exchanged glances. Then, they asked doubtfully, What special era? The Age of Geniuses? Shui Lingling nodded and said, That's right. The next year will be the most crucial year. You spend most of your time in the Haoyan sect and do not have enough contacts. This is the information I obtained from Bushin Palace. Chapter 728. Be it the geniuses from the lower realms or the young experts of the Tianwu domain, there are several people who are even more talented than Xiao Chun. However, they lack accumulations, so they did not come to the savage battlefield. A strange look flashed in the eyes of Hu Hai and the other two. They found this somewhat incredible. It would be hard to find 10 heaven-defying people like Xiao Chun in the Tianwu domain in 100 years. However, Shui Lingling said that there were several geniuses who were even stronger than Xiao Chun. This was too shocking. Shui Lingling continued, There is an insurmountable bottleneck between half-sage and martial sage. Relying on treasures like spirit-gathering pearls will not have any effect. One can only rely on one's own comprehension and experience. Within 1 year, if the so-called 7 giants of the Tianwu domain do not improve, at least half of them will be defeated by the newcomers. Xiao Chun entered deep thought. Shui Lingling's words might be a little exaggerated, but they should be true. The savage battlefield was just the start of a great era. After this, there would be an endless stream of newcomers. Half a month later, the Haoyan city appeared in the distance. After a long time, Xiao Chun saw the familiar city walls and people again. This made him feel like he had returned home. He did not need to think about anything and could rest properly. Before everyone went their separate ways, Shui Lingling asked Xiao Chun to stay behind. She said, Junior brother Xiao Chun, do you have any plan for the future? If you are willing, I can make you a true inheritor. True inheritor was a status that many people in the Haoyan sect dreamed of. Once one became one, not only would one be able to practice the heaven-rank cultivation techniques of the Haoyan sect, but they would also obtain all sorts of resources and more freedom. If one's strength was outstanding, the sect would even send them to the Bushin Palace to interact with the elites of the entire Tianwu domain. They would compete with the cultivators of the other races and experience the even more majestic Kunlun Great World. Shui Lingling continued, As long as you are willing, I can immediately bring you to the central province's Bushin Palace. That is the center of the Tianwu domain, where all the elites of the human race gather. While you are there, your strength will increase even faster. 1 year later, your chances of defeating Bai Wuxue will be even greater. There were many benefits to becoming a true inheritor. One could imagine the benefits one would receive if they entered the Bushin Palace. However, everything had a price. Once he accepted it, he would definitely have to bear some responsibilities or obligations. Xiao Chun was a free person and didn't like to be restricted. Moreover, he had promised Ao Jiao that he would go to a place. There was a conflict of time between the two, and there was no way to reconcile. He could only decline Shui Lingling's invitation. Shui Lingling smiled warmly and said, All right, I won't force you. If you need anything, you can come to me at any time. I'll be in the Haoyan sect for the next month. Farewell. Xiao Chun cupped his hands and left. As Shui Lingling watched Xiao Chun leave, she revealed a contemplative expression on her gentle and pretty face. She muttered, Perhaps only the sect master can convince him. When Xiao Chun returned to his courtyard, he did not do anything. First, he took a hot bath, completely relaxing his body and mind, which had been tense for the past few days. Then, he made a table full of dishes and had a good meal. After everything was done, he went back to his room. After everything was done, Xiao Chan slowly organized the treasures that he had not used in time. Naturally, the first was the dragon mark fruit, which could increase one's vital qi by 150 tons of force. However, Xiao Chun had some doubts about the medicinal energy of this dragon mark fruit. Right now, his physical body was already a rank 1 sage body. Whether it could increase 150 tons of force of vital qi was still a big question mark. Xiao Chun estimated that he could increase his vital qi by 50 tons of force at most, and that would already be pretty good. Naturally, the second item was the dragon bones containing the 2 drops of dragon marrow. Dragon marrow was good stuff. After Xiao Chun consumed half a drop of dragon marrow, he could clearly feel the changes in his bones. During the battle, Xiao Chun had experienced it firsthand. Bai Wushui's cold poison had not seeped into his internal organs. This had a lot to do with the dragon bones that had been modified by the dragon marrow. The 2 drops of dragon marrow could strengthen Xiao Chen's bones further improving his defense. It might even undergo a complete transformation. The third item was the dragon tone art, a soundwave-type martial technique that countered the deity race's mental energy martial techniques. In the future, when Xiao Chun left the Tianwu domain, he would definitely be able to use it. As for the last item, it was that mysterious painting of the Qing Emperor. This item was too strange. Even until now, Xiao Chun did not have the courage to open it again. That incomparably realistic feeling of death was not a good feeling. However, the exquisite drawing the saber of the person in the painting had an incredible allure. One could not help but want to take a look. This was simply too contradictory. Aside from this, there was a large pile of true dragon bones in the ring. However, those things could only be used to exchange for resources. Xiao Chun had no use for them. The 4 treasures were placed before Xiao Chun. He had indeed gained a lot from this trip to the savage battlefield. Not only had his strength soared, surpassing his expectations, but his gains were also gratifying. Fortuitous encounters. No wonder the cultivators of the world loved fortuitous encounters so much. Even at the risk of death, they still rushed forward. Xiao Chun held the dragon mark fruit in his hand and thought for a while. In the end, he gave up on consuming it. The foundation of his physical body was too strong. He would not be able to bring out the full medicinal energy of the dragon mark fruit. He might as well keep it and give it to Yu Qinsi when the time came. Yu Qinsi specialized in fist techniques. Her vital qi could increase by 150 tons of force. This would definitely be of great help to her close combat. Xiao Chun took out 2 jade bottles and broke open the true dragon bones. 2 drops of golden dragon marrow containing pure dragon might fell into the jade bottles. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and swallowed the 2 drops of dragon marrow, which others coveted. Then he sat down cross-legged and quietly waited for the dragon marrow to take effect. When Xiao Chun looked within himself, he discovered that his entire skeleton was covered in a layer of dazzling golden light. That was the dragon marrow slowly seeping into his bones. The previous half-drop of dragon marrow did not have such a mysterious phenomenon. It was probably too diluted. The amount of dragon marrow that had seeped into every bone was too little. Kassier, as the dragon marrow slowly seeped into Xiao Chun, every bone in his body gave off soft sounds. Every bone seemed to be changing from the inside out. When all of the dragon marrow had seeped into the bones, the golden light on the bones finally disappeared. When Xiao Chun looked carefully, he discovered that the color of his bones had changed. They now glowed with a faint golden light. The golden light was very faint. However, it gave his fragile bones a texture. With one look, he could tell that they had become much sturdier. Xiao Chun sensed that there seemed to be something more in his entire skeleton. He carefully sensed for a long time and finally discovered that his entire skeleton was connected. There was an indistinct barrier of light, forming an internal layer of defense in his body. After withdrawing his consciousness, Xiao Chen's face lit up with joy. He muttered to himself, "It looks like when I consumed the half-drop of dragon marrow, it already formed an internal layer of defense. This is the secret to blocking by Wu Xue's cold poison." However, the effect of the half-drop of dragon marrow was too little. It could not form a visible barrier of light. Xiao Chen only had such an effect after consuming another 2 drops of dragon marrow. If he ran into Bai Wuxue again in the future, the other party's cold poison, which gave him a headache, might be completely ineffective against him. Furthermore, with an additional internal layer of defense, Xiao Chen's overall defense was much stronger than before. As Xiao Chen held the dragon bones with the dragon marrow removed, he thought to himself, the barrier of light is still too faint. This internal layer of defense still has a lot of potential. Just as Xiao Chen was experiencing the benefits of consuming the 2 drops of dragon marrow, a group of uninvited guests came to his courtyard with hostile gazes when they heard that he had returned. This group was led by Hua, Tianhe, the true inheritors of the other sect. Xiao Chen put away the dragon tone art. For now, he did not intend to learn this martial technique. He did not have the time to do so. Looking at the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber, Xiao Chen hesitated for a long time. In the end, he decided to unfurl the painting. The drawing of the saber of the person in the painting was simply too tempting. It was clearly just a casual posture. However, Xiao Chen could see several directions from which the saber could be drawn. There were even some that he did not know of. Such a drawing the saber gave Xiao Chen a significant impact. If he could learn it, his saber techniques would definitely improve. Suddenly, Xiao Chen frowned and casually placed the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber into his universe ring. Xiao Chen looked out of the courtyard and muttered to himself for a while. Then his figure flashed, and he quickly drifted out. Standing on the blue dragon image, Xiao Chen arrived outside the courtyard. Then, he expressionlessly sized up Hua, Tianhe, Yun Feiyu, and the others. The eyes of the other 5 contained a murderous intent. Their expressions were cold, and they placed their right hands on their swords. Clearly, they did not come with good intentions. Xiao Chen looked up and said calmly, "Senior brothers, I wonder what brings you to this small courtyard." Hua Tianhe and the others sized up Xiao Chen. Shock immediately appeared in their eyes. In a short 2 months, Xiao Chen's strength had become somewhat unfathomable. However, in the end, Xiao Chen was only a peak medial grade martial monarch. Hua Tianhe felt slightly more at ease. He was a late-stage superior grade martial monarch. Of the other 4, the weakest was a middle-stage superior grade martial monarch. In terms of numbers and cultivation, they could completely suppress Xiao Chen. Thinking of this, Hua Tianhe's face sank. He could not be bothered to speak any nonsense. He said in a cold voice, "Xiao Chen, let me ask you, were you the one who sneak attacked us in the savage beast forest that day?" Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, "If you do not have any evidence, I hope senior brother Hua will not speak nonsense." A blue-robed swordsman behind Hua Tianhe stepped forward and pointed at Xiao Chen. He said, "Do you want evidence? After the incident, Wang Qing personally told us that you were not with them. Instead, you were sneakily hiding. You are the most suspicious." Xiao Chen had not expected Wang Qing to do such a thing. This somewhat surprised him. However, that was then, and this was now. Whether there was evidence or suspicion was no longer important. Xiao Chen did not deny it. He said, "Just say what you want to say. There's no need to beat around the bush." Hua Tianhe smiled and said, "Since you already admit to it, I will be straightforward. You caused us to lose the right to go to the savage battlefield. You have to bear the responsibility for this loss." "That's right. You have to bear the responsibility. Hand over all the treasures you obtain from the savage battlefield, and give each of us 1,000,000 superior grade spirit stones. Otherwise, we will not have a good time in the Haotian sect." A person behind Hua Tianhe shouted sternly. The matter of Xiao Chen exchanging 100 moves with Bai Wuxue and remaining undefeated had not spread yet. Hence, these people all believed that they already had Xiao Chen in the bag. Hence, their words were not polite at all and were overbearing. Chapter 729. I finally revealed my foxtail. Xiao Chun smiled coldly to himself. He said indifferently, "Sorry, I will use what I can use for myself. If I cannot use it, I will give it to my friends. I will not give it to a bunch of trash." The five had expected that Xiao Chun would not give in obediently. One of the people behind Xiao Chun smiled coldly and said, "Ha ha, since you call us trash, then junior brother Xiao Chun must be very capable. I, Lien Chung, am here to seek some advice." Xiao. Lien Chung drew his sword light and soared into the air. A white mist appeared on his sword, giving off a cold chi. Unexpectedly, Lien Cheng's state was the same as by Wushua's. A cold wind blew, and the temperature plummeted. Frost immediately covered the ground, spreading up from under Xiao Chen's feet. Lien Chung was very confident in his state of ice. Not only could it reduce his opponent's speed, but it could also reduce his opponent's speed. Not only could it reduce the opponent's speed, but it could also formlessly infiltrate the opponent's body and form a cold poison, killing the opponent without them realizing it. When the sword light arrived, Xiao Chun circulated his vital qi and gently pushed out with his hand. A surging force struck the tip of the sword. Wong, wong. The 1-meter-long sword started to tremble, and the force flowed along the blade and into Lien Cheng's right hand. The vast force pulled Lien Cheng back, nearly causing him to lose his grip on the sword. Lien Cheng was shocked. He could not understand why his state of ice did not have any effect on Xiao Chun. Furthermore, since when did Xiao Chen's strength become so great? With a gentle push, Xiao Chen easily broke Lien Cheng's flying sword strike. The scene immediately caused Hua Tianhe and the others to stare with their eyes wide open and their mouths agape. However, what shocked them even more was yet to come. Xiao Cheng grasped this opportunity and unleashed his state of thunder. Electricity instantly tore apart the frost on the ground. Bang! Xiao Chun took a step forward, and a blue dragon image appeared under his feet, carrying him into the air. Vital Qi surged in Xiao Chen's body like a raging river, surging endlessly. His qi and blood surged, and his aura looked like a rainbow piercing through the sun. His white robes fluttered in the wind, his long hair dancing in the wind. Xiao Chun was like an ancient god of war, stepping on a blue dragon. Lien Cheng, who hadn't even had time to turn around, had a trace of fear in his eyes when he saw Xiao Chun flying towards him. He hurriedly retreated. "Do you think you can escape?" Xiao Chun reacted quickly. He moved at lightning speed and grabbed Lien Cheng's wrist in an instant. 1,000 tons of vital qi surged and roared in his body, giving off a rumbling sound like that of a stormy sea. Looking at his body, one could feel a clump of raging flames burning. That was the invisible pressure produced when one's physical body was powerful and their qi and blood were vigorous to the extreme. Lien Cheng felt as if his wrist was being clamped down by a pair of iron pincers. His face turned red, and no matter how much Zhen Yuan he used, he was unable to break free. Xiao Chen casually pulled and then quickly let go. Lien Cheng was thrown high up into the air like a sandbag, falling towards the lake behind him. "You are indeed not talented. You can't even be considered trash," Xiao Chun said calmly as he watched Lien Cheng fly away and land on the ground. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chun flung Lien Cheng into the air. Hua Tianhe and the other four felt a chill run down their backs. They were in disbelief. How was this the strength of a peak medial grade martial monarch? "The few of you, if you think you're not trash, then come with me," Xiao Chun said casually. Then he soared into the air and summoned out 3 blue dragons. Xiao Chen's figure flickered, and the berserk dragons danced around. In an instant, he caught up to Lien Cheng in the air. Xiao Chun casually raised his foot and stomped on Lien Cheng's ribs, sending him flying like a cannonball into the lake, creating a large splash. The entire process was very simple. A middle-stage superior-grade martial monarch was toyed with by Xiao Chun, unable to resist at all. Hua Tianhe and the others were both shocked and enraged. Xiao Chen's casual words trampled on their dignity so badly that they could not bear to look at them. As true inheritors, they were respected everywhere they went in the Haoyan sect worshipping them. However, today, Xiao Chun did not care at all, directly saying that they were just a bunch of trash. The most important thing was that the contrast was too great. Originally, the few of them had intended to consider Xiao Chen's improvement. Given their strength, if they worked together, it would be easy to subdue Xiao Chun. However, the development of the situation exceeded their expectations. In just one exchange, Xiao Chun used the most tyrannical method to toss Lien Qing out. Hua Tianhe quickly analyzed the situation. Then he said calmly, he probably consumed some natural treasure to strengthen his physical body in the savage battlefield. Even if we do not get close to him, we will still be able to defeat him if we fight him with quintessence. That's right. This fellow is too arrogant. If we cannot suppress his arrogance this time, and he becomes a true inheritor in the future, we will not be able to survive in the Haotian sect. Let's work together and trample on him. The other three also revealed ferocious gazes as they agreed with Hua Tianhe. Xiao Chen's rise terrified them from the bottom of their hearts. No matter what, they had to trample on him. Xiao, Xiao, Xiao. 4 beams of light shot out and landed on the water, surrounding Xiao Chun. They feared Xiao Chen's horrifying physical body, so they did not dare to get too close. Xiao Chen glanced at them and figured out their intentions. He drew out his lunar shadow saber and calmly placed his right hand on its hilt. There was no wind or waves on the calm surface of the lake. Under the strong auras of the 5, the flowing water seemed to have stopped, not moving at all. Hua Tianhe's group of 4 placed their hands on the hilts of their swords as they looked coldly at Xiao Chun. A heavy murderous intent appeared in the depths of their eyes. Ka! Ka! The 4 swords were drawn at the same time. Surging sword chi kicked up waves as they flew at Xiao Chun. Each strand of sword chi contained a different state. Some were like strong winds, some were like surging flames, some were as heavy as earth, and some were as sharp as metal. The state of wind, the state of fire, the state of earth, and the state of metal supported the sword chi of the 4 states. From a distance, it looked very majestic amid the splashes of water. Towering waves and layers of water appeared. Under such a scene, the white-robed Xiao Chun looked as insignificant as an ant. Xiao Chun did not show any fear. He quickly drew his saber with his right hand, and the immortal state of thunder surged out. Thunder clouds filled the sky above, and electric light shot out from the saber. Bang! 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 Xiao Chen's figure moved as he swung his saber 4 times, shattering the 4 strands of sword chi. Quintessence surged out, and a huge pillar of water shot up into the sky from the lake. Hua Tianhe's group of 4 made up their minds not to get close to Xiao Chun. Their nimble figures leaped quickly on the water, sending strands of sword chi at Xiao Chun. They wanted to use their advantage in cultivation to exhaust Xiao Chun to death. When Xiao Chun ran out of quintessence, they would be able to do whatever they wanted to him. Xiao Chun understood. He had already condensed his quintessence twice. In terms of quintessence, he had no less than any of them. If they really wanted to fight like this, Xiao Chun would be happy to do so. By the time he ran out of quintessence, he would be able to use the strength of his physical body to crush this group of people. Electric light surged on the calm lake, a strong wind howled, and flames surged. All sorts of quintessence shot out from the surface of the lake. They kicked up huge waves and boundless ripples. The entire lake turned chaotic. Such fluctuations immediately startled the inner sect disciples living nearby. When they saw the faces of the 2 sides fighting, they were all startled. What's going on? Unexpectedly, Xiao Chun is fighting with Hua Tianhe's group. He is fighting 1 against 4, and he is not at a disadvantage. Since when did Xiao Chun become so strong? More cultivators gathered at the lakeside to watch. Intense shock filled their eyes. The difference in status between the 2 sides was simply too great. Xiao Chun was just an inner sect disciple who had just joined the sect half a year ago. On the other side, there was a strong true inheritor with a noble status. Although Yin Feiyu had not officially become a true inheritor, his strength was already recognized to be on the same level as a true inheritor. 4 true inheritors had to fight so bitterly against one inner sect disciple. Such a situation had never happened before in the history of the Haotian sect. Boundless sword chi shot at Xiao Chun like cannonballs. Xiao Chun did not panic, only brandishing the saber in his hand. He broke the various sword chi coming at him one by one. Then, he kept his quintessence and did not react. He only calmly watched the 4 people who wanted to knock him down immediately. Hua Tianhe and the other 3 gradually felt that something was wrong. Almost 1 hour had passed, but Xiao Chun did not have any quintessence left. Senior brother Hua, this brat is strange. I have already exhausted 2/3 of my quintessence, but he still looks fine. I have exhausted more than half of my quintessence as well. If this continues, I will be completely out of combat prowess. The 4 sent voice projections to Hua Tianhe one after another. Some fluster appeared in their hearts. They could not figure out Xiao Chun at all. Hua Tianhe said sullenly, "Never mind. Let's cut off all means of retreat and use our heaven-ranked martial techniques together. I don't believe that we cannot destroy him." The combined attacks of 4 heaven-ranked martial techniques were so mighty that even a half-sage would not dare to underestimate them. If a weaker half-sage got struck, they would immediately be severely injured. Xiao Chun looked around the 4's faces and guessed what they were thinking. It's time to end this. These people are much weaker than Shimen Bao. Now that I have consumed 2 more drops of Dragon Marrow, they're no longer on the same level as me. After making up his mind, Xiao Chun looked around and fixed his gaze on Yun Feiyu, the former top intersect disciple. The blue dragon swung its tail, and a strong wind blew, creating an arc. Xiao Chun stood on the blue dragon and instantly arrived before Yun Feiyu. Yun Feiyu's face sank. Before he could react, Xiao Chun's attack arrived. Ghostly image chop. Saber lights danced around, sending out 72 saber images. The real and fake were hard to distinguish, looking like phantoms. Each saber image contained the immortal state of thunder and Xiao Chun's great perfection saber intent. Its might was unfathomable. Dang! 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 The saber and sword clashed, creating intense sparks. Yun Feiyu blocked 72 saber strikes. With each strike, he was pushed back 100 meters. By the time the others reacted, Xiao Chun had already pushed Yun Feiyu back more than 7 kilometers. Chase! We cannot let him defeat us one by one. Hua Tianhe's expression changed drastically as he quickly led the remaining 2 people in pursuit. However, the group only advanced 1 kilometer before they heard a miserable shriek. A boundless sea of lightning blasted Yun Feiyu, inflicting internal injuries. He vomited a mouthful of blood and sank to the bottom of the lake. A boundless sea of lightning appeared in front of them. With a glance, all they saw was electric light. Xiao Chun's figure was nowhere to be seen. Chapter 730. Hua Tianhe was the first to feel that something was wrong. He felt like a venomous snake was staring at him. He did not know where his opponent was hiding. Retreat. Quickly retreat. The group rushed over. However, when they were less than a kilometer away, they immediately retreated. This baffled the many disciples at the lakeshore. However, they soon realized why Hua Tianhe and his 2 lackeys had decided to retreat. A strand of saber light appeared from somewhere in the boundless sea of lightning. It was untraceable and swept through the area. Pusi. As the saber light flashed, finger-sized bloody holes appeared in the chests of Hua Tianhe's group. Blood spurted out like a fountain. The wounds were less than 2 centimeters away from their hearts. If Xiao Chun had not shown mercy, the 3 would have died on the spot. Hua Tianhe paled as he looked at the white figure in front in disbelief. His group really lost to an intersect disciple who was only a peak medial grade martial monarch. Xiao Chun slowly turned around and looked coldly at the 3, who were doing their best to cover their wounds. There was no trace of sympathy in his eyes. Then, Xiao Chun sheathed his saber and stepped forward, letting the sword chi that the 3 sent fly at him. Xiao Chun stomped 3 times with boundless force, sending the 3 flying like cannonballs into the bottom of the lake. The 3 strands of sword chi struck Xiao Chun's protective quintessence, and the remnant energy entered his body. First, his skin and flesh blocked half of the sword chi. Then, the light barrier on his bones blocked the remaining half. Most of the sword chi had already entered his internal organs. It did not cause much damage to Xiao Chun. Xiao Chen's internal organs churned slightly, and he was fine. When Xiao Chun looked around, he saw that the raging lake had already calmed down. He could no longer see any opponents. Hua Tian's group of 5 only dared to poke their heads out of the lake. They looked at Xiao Chun in horror, not even daring to fly out. When did Xiao Chun become so strong? Looking at the situation, apart from Shui Lingling, perhaps only those true disciples who went to Bushin Palace can suppress him. I really can't believe it. 4 true inheritors, in addition to Yin Feiyu, are not a match for Xiao Chun even after working together. And looking at Xiao Chen's situation, it's obvious that he didn't give it his all. The battle had ended so cleanly, leaving the inner disciples at the shore in disbelief. The discussions entered Xiao Chen's ears. However, he did not feel that there was anything to be complacent about. If it were any of the 7 giants here, they would not be satisfied. Both of them were able to face the 5 of them more easily than him. The difference in strength between the 2 of them was already on a completely different level. Moreover, from the very beginning, Xiao Chen's goal had never been to become a true disciple of the Haotian sect. How vast was this world? When one looked around, there were countless geniuses and heroes. How could one narrow one's sights and be complacent? Xiao Chun glanced coldly at the heads popping out of the lake. This frightened Hua Tianhe and the others into quickly diving back down, not even daring to show their heads. Xiao Chun withdrew his gaze and ignored these arrogant trash. Then, he returned to the courtyard. High in the sky above the lake, Shui Lingling stood on a cloud. She smiled at the sky and said, "Master, you saw it clearly now, right? Lingling, I did not lie to you, right?" In the faint blue sky, the image of a pair of eyes slowly appeared behind Shui Lingling. This image was very large. The sky behind Shui Lingling was covered by this pair of eyes. Under the gaze of this pair of eyes, it seemed that no secret in the world could be hidden from them. The owner of the eyes said, "He is indeed a person with great luck. Unfortunately, this person cannot be used by the Haotian sect." Shui Lingling's general expression changed slightly. She said, "Why can't Xiao Chun be used by the Haotian sect? I could tell that he likes freedom. However, Master, you are a greater celestial Emperor Wu. If you speak to him personally, you will definitely be able to move him." It turned out that the owner of this pair of eyes was the sect master of the Haotian sect, the Haotian Emperor. 1,000 years ago, he successfully advanced from a lesser celestial to a greater celestial, Emperor Wu. He led the Haotian sect from a rank 8 sect to the 9 ranks of the great families. Furthermore, it was one of the best. The Haotian Emperor said in a deep voice, "That's not the reason. His background is too great. No sect in the world can bind him." Shui Lingling was confused. She said, "Master, since when did you look at the background of a disciple? Isn't it fine as long as he has great luck?" Without answering Shui Lingling's question, the Haotian Emperor's voice sounded again. He said, "Although he cannot be used by the sect, it will be beneficial for the Haotian sect to build a good relationship with him. Pass on my order. Let the great elders in the sect look after him secretly." The pair of eyes slowly disappeared. The clouds in the sky suddenly gathered together. Then, with a swoosh, they condensed into the appearance of a middle-aged man. The body formed by the clouds was no different from a real person. It looked full of flesh and blood, full of energy. It didn't feel illusory at all. Shui Lingling exclaimed in shock, "Master, you actually used a clone? What exactly is this Xiao Chen's background?" The Haotian Emperor smiled faintly and said, "There's no need to care about Xiao Chen's background. Just treat him as an ordinary genius. I believe that those major characters in the Bushin Palace think the same. Otherwise, they would have notified me long ago." The Haotian Emperor sighed and smiled. "Since I saw him, I should go and have a chat with those old friends. Unfortunately, I just saw a Starry Heavens brick, and I have to give up on it." After saying that, the Haotian Emperor's clone casually tore at the air. A crack immediately appeared in the stable spatial structure of the Kunlun realm. Space was like a complete building with a hole torn in it. When one looked at the hole, one could see the lines formed by space and time, forming a complicated three-dimensional diagram flickering with fluorescent light. The Haotian Emperor's figure flashed, and he leaped into the spatial crack that he tore open. The crack slowly closed. When it reopened, it had already traveled an extremely long distance, directly arriving in the central province from the Haotian province. Then, it landed in the Bushan Palace. Shui Lingling said softly, "Junior brother Xiao Chun is really unfathomable. Master actually gave up on experiential training in the Milky Way for him and sent down his clone." Inside the courtyard, Xiao Chun did not know that Emperor Wu had personally witnessed the earlier battle. Furthermore, that Emperor Wu seemed to have figured out his origins. At this moment, Xiao Chun was discussing with Ao Jiao where the mysterious place she mentioned was and what kind of benefits he could obtain if he went there. Little Ao Jiao, for your sake, I rejected First Senior Sister's kind invitation. Now, you have to tell me where exactly you are going, right? Inside the Immortal Spirit Ring, Ao Jiao was like a hard-working gardener. Her petite face had a cheerful smile as she meticulously took care of the valuable spirit trees in the Immortal Spirit Ring. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Ao Jiao smiled disapprovingly. "You make it sound so nice. Do you think I do not know what you are thinking in your heart? Going with me will bring you more freedom. If you go with your First Senior Sister, you will definitely cause a lot of trouble." This was indeed one of the things that Xiao Chan was worried about. Shui Lingling was very beautiful and dazzling. There was no lack of suitors in the Bushan Palace. Xiao Chan had received such special treatment from her. If he went there would definitely be boring trouble waiting for him. Xiao Chan picked up the cup of tea on the table and drained it in one gulp. Then he smiled embarrassedly and said, "No matter what, you have to tell me what kind of test I have to undergo." Ao Jiao stopped what she was doing and nodded. "Indeed, I should tell you. That is where the Thunder King comprehended the will of thunder. After thousands of years, there should not have been any changes. The will of thunder." Hearing these words, Xiao Chen's eyes immediately lit up. How strong was the will of thunder? Back then, Enjuanqi's whip had shocked all the outstanding talents of the entire Tianwu domain. He had taken away the most valuable treasure in the true dragon remains, leaving everyone with no distracting thoughts. Aside from admiration, they did not have any other thoughts. Xiao Chun felt somewhat uneasy as he said, "Little Ao Jiao, don't lie to me. Are you telling me the truth?" Ao Jiao retorted angrily, "Since when did I lie to you?" Back then, the Thunder King did indeed comprehend the will of thunder there. Although I cannot guarantee that you will succeed in comprehending the will of thunder, there is at least a 50% chance of success. After Xiao Chun calmed down, he asked the most crucial question. Haha, don't be angry. I got a little excited. Where's that place? How long will it take to go there and back? After Ao Jiao thought for a while, she replied, very, very far. It is in a dangerous land in the Fiend domain. It will take at least 6 months to go there and back from the Haotian province. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. Such a long time and all sorts of unexpected surprises would take him at least a year to prepare. He would have to prepare for this trip for at least a year before he could deal with all sorts of things that might happen in the middle of the trip. However, a year's leave was not easy to apply for. The Haotian sect had a rule that those who had not been in the sect for 2 years could not leave the sect for half a year. However, the place that Ao Jiao mentioned was a place that Xiao Chun had to go to. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for him to surpass Bai Wuxue within a year. After all, Bai Wuxue would not wait for Xiao Chun to surpass him without making any progress. If Xiao Chun wanted to succeed, he would have to put in more effort than Bai Wuxue. No matter what, Xiao Chun had to comprehend the will of thunder. 3 days later, after Xiao Chun bought all the supplies he would need along the way, he went to Shui Lingling's residence and stated his intentions. Haha, you wanting to apply for a year's leave is not beyond my expectations. When Shui Lingling heard that, she did not feel surprised. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Since first senior sister already expected it, I wonder if you will allow it." Naturally, there is no problem with agreeing to it. However, I am very curious. What kind of place is more attractive than going to Bushin Palace with me? Shui Lingling asked curiously as she looked at Xiao Chen with her bright eyes. Xiao Chen really did not know how to explain. Ao Jiao had not mentioned that place in detail. Even if he wanted to explain, he would not be able to do so. Seeing that Xiao Chen was in a difficult position, Shui Lingling did not pursue the matter. She took out a jade pendant and said, "This is my personal identity pendant. Take it to the inner city's hall to ask for instructions. No one should be able to make things difficult for you." Xiao Chen received the fragrant jade pendant and performed a cupped fist salute in thanks. Many thanks for First Senior Sister's help. Xiao Chen will definitely repay First Senior Sister's kindness in the future.